Chapter 392. The results are out. A slap in the face came so fast. _2. Zhou Xuemei exclaimed. How could I possibly lose? And Yang raised her eyebrows slightly. Does that mean you can't afford to lose? Absolutely not. Zhou Xuemei continued. If I lose, I'll apologize to you. We should add one more condition. And Yang responded calmly. What condition? Zhou Xuemei asked. With a casual demeanor, and Yang slightly lifted her eyelids to look at Zhou Xuemei. I want you to admit that you're jealous of me. And Yang wasn't molded from clay. She couldn't tolerate Zhou Xuemei continuously pushing her limits. Zhou Xuemei's face turned pale, and then flushed when Yang revealed her inner thoughts. What are you talking about? Who's jealous of you? And Yang only smiled and chose to not waste words. She said directly. Just state whether you're willing to make the bet. Bet? Of course I'll bet. Zhou Xuemei replied confidently. She wasn't going to lose. All the students present today will be our witnesses. Let's seal the bet with a high five. And Yang extended her hand and high-fived her. After the brief rest period, the English exam began. The atmosphere during the English exam was even more intense than the math one. English had just been added to the college entrance exam, so the questions were relatively simple, and the test was divided into 6 parts. 1 word pronunciation. 2 word spelling. 3 word definition. 4 sentence transformation. 5 multiple choice. 6 verb completion. In less than half an hour, Yang completed the test and rested her head for a nap. To prevent cheating, different invigilators were present for each test. Zhang Chang was scheduled to patrol several examination rooms. When he saw Yang sleeping again, he sighed. Only 25 minutes had passed and Yang was asleep again. He wondered what the point was of her taking the transfer student exam in this manner. Isn't this a waste of a quota? If he had known this beforehand, he wouldn't have agreed with Jialan to give Yang this opportunity. If the principal saw this, it would reflect poorly. After the English exam was history. Yang's knowledge of history was extensive, so she didn't find the history exam challenging either. After 4 exams in the morning, it was time for lunch. They could eat either outside the school or in the school cafeteria. Even though a meal ticket was needed to eat in the cafeteria, the school had allowed direct cash payment due to the large number of people appearing for the exam today. Yang, where are you going to eat? Han Xiaoyu approached Yang. Yang smiled and said, I can eat anywhere. What about you? Han Xiaoyu said, Then shall we eat in the cafeteria? It's too far outside, and I don't feel like walking. Sure. Yang nodded. Let's go then. Han Xiaoyu linked her arm with Yang's. The two of them walked towards the cafeteria together. The high school's cafeteria was very large, with 3 floors in total. At lunchtime, the cafeteria was jam-packed, with long lines at every counter. Of course, some students who had rushed managed to start eating at their tables already. It was a difficult time. Many students could only afford plain white rice, not even vegetables. Accompanied by a small bottle of pickles, they could eat several servings of rice. As soon as Yang and Han Xiaoyu arrived in the cafeteria, they caused quite a stir. She was so beautiful. Not only was she beautiful, but she also had a unique aura that couldn't be concealed even in her old-fashioned shirt. It was as if she had stepped out of a painting. Wow. Which class is she in? She's so beautiful. I've never seen her before. Today our school is conducting a transfer student exam. She must be here for that. She's so beautiful. I wonder what she ate to grow up like this. I really want to know her name. In those times, people were quite innocent. Even if they were really interested, they wouldn't have the courage to approach her directly. For the first time in her life, Han Xiaoyu drew the attention of so many people, and it left her inexplicably nervous. She looked at Yang beside her, and there wasn't a hint of unease on her face. How much must a person grow to be so at ease and unaffected by insults or praise? Inside, Han Xiaoyu couldn't help but be slightly in awe of Yang. The two of them got in line at the counter. A few boys were in front of them. As the boys took their meals and started to walk away, one of them suddenly stopped. Yang. Chapter 393. The results are out. A slap in the face came so fast _3. An Young glanced slightly upward, meeting the gaze of a slightly tender and handsome face. Li Wei. Li Wei looked surprised. An Young, what are you doing here? This place was a city high school, and An Young was just a small-scale business owner. How did she get in? An Young politely replied. I'm here to take the transfer student's exam. It was only then that Li Wei remembered there was a transfer student's exam today. An Young's math grades were good. Her English grades were also good. Could she really get admitted as a transfer student? If that was really the case, wouldn't An Young become his schoolmate in the future? For a moment, Li Wei felt a mix of emotions. He even wished that An Young would perform terribly in all of her exams today, because only in this way could he feel superior in front of her. But now, An Young actually came to take the exams. Li Wei nodded slightly, then said, You must have done very well in the exam today, right? An Young said, I did all right. Oh. Li Wei nodded again, his face failing to hide his disappointment. Just then, it was almost An Young's turn to order lunch. She continued, My turn is coming up, I won't keep chatting. All right. Li Wei also left with the other students around him. As soon as he turned his back, the students next to Li Wei began to ask curiously, Li Wei, what is your relationship with that pretty girl just now? What's her name again? Which An which Yang? What are her grades usually like? Can she get into our school? Well, who could blame them for being curious? After all, An Young was so good-looking. After all, everyone loves beauty. Everyone was chattering away, making Li Wei a little irritable. He knew An Young was pretty, but he didn't know An Young was so popular. He felt a strong sense of crisis. Brother away. Zhou Xuemei ran over from a distance, waving excitedly at Li Wei. A male classmate beside him patted Li Wei on the shoulder and teased, Li Wei, you're really popular with the ladies. Li Wei was good at studying, handsome, respected elders, and had reverence for teachers, so he was pretty popular among the young girls. Who knows how many young girls in the class had a crush on Li Wei? Zhou Xuemei, on the other hand, grew up with Li Wei in the same village. Later, because Li Wei moved to the city with his parents, they lost contact. Recently, because Zhou Xuemei's parents also found jobs and bought a house in the city, the two met again. The fact that Zhou Xuemei was able to take this transfer student examination was also thanks to Li Wei's recommendation. Enough with the nonsense. She just grew up with me like a little sister. Li Wei began to explain. But what about that An Young just now? The male student asked again. Li Wei said, She used to be our tenant. Tenant? The male student frowned slightly. Isn't An Young a local? During this period, locals usually looked down upon outsiders to some extent. Yes. Li Wei nodded. She used to run a noodle stall. A private business. Hearing this, the disdain in the male student's eyes deepened. A street vendor has the nerve to take the transfer student's exam. Can she even pass? Brother away. During the conversation, Zhou Xuemei had already arrived next to Li Wei. Xuemei. Li Wei replied indifferently. Zhou Xuemei continued. Who were you guys talking about just now? Who's a small-scale business owner? Li Wei said. We were talking about An Young, but you don't know her. An Young. So the enemies were on a narrow road. Zhou Xuemei laughed sarcastically. Who says I don't know her? I was in the same examination room with her today. Really? Li Wei was somewhat surprised. Of course. Zhou Xuemei nodded. Li Wei continued. Then how did An Young perform in the exam today? Hearing this, Zhou Xuemei's expression became even more disdainful. There were 4 exams in the morning, over 5 hours in total. To exaggerate a bit, she slept for at least 4 hours. Do you think she did well? She slept for over 4 hours? Li Wei was somewhat surprised. Yes. Zhou Xuemei continued. The invigilator looked in her direction countless times, but she didn't react at all. So shameless. In that case, An Young must have blown the exam this time. The heavy stone in Li Wei's heart finally landed. As long as An Young hasn't passed, that's good enough. By the way, brother away, how did you get to know An Young? Zhou Xuemei continued to ask. Chapter 394. The results are out. A slap in the face came so fast. 4. Li Wei relayed to Zhou Xuemei that Enai Yang was a self-employed individual. An air of sarcasm hung around Zhou Xuemei's eyes. So that's what Enai Yang is all about. Strutting around so arrogantly. Just a mere self-employed individual. Both her parents were formal workers and they had even bought a house in the city, so Zhou Xuemei naturally looked down on Enai Yang. Furthermore, Enai Yang was an outsider. Brother Away, let me tell you something really interesting. Zhou Xuemei relayed the story of her bet with Enai Yang to Li Wei with a laugh. Hearing this, Li Wei felt a surge of superiority in his heart. In the afternoon he was still taking 4 exams. By the time the examinations ended, it was already past 6 in the evening. Enai Yang then made a trip to the vegetable market on his bicycle. They were about to start raising the beams soon. So Enai Yang had to prepare everything needed for the beam raising in advance. Beam raising was a major event. Not only did he need to prepare food and wine to treat the guests, but also buy firecrackers, fireworks, and snacks. Enai Yang bought more than 50 pounds of fruit candies and milk candies, 18 pounds of pastries, dates, and peanuts. Then Enai Yang went to buy 20 packs of cigarettes, firecrackers, and fireworks. Finally, Enai Yang bought vegetables and meat. Enai Yang only bought enough pork for eating that day because if he bought more, it could easily spoil due to the weather. After buying all the necessary things, Enai Yang rode back on his bicycle. As soon as he entered the courtyard, Enai Yang heard some snorting sounds. A glance at the side revealed that under the osmanthus tree in the courtyard, a big fat pig was tied up. The little rabbit seemed to be seeing a big fat pig for the first time, running around the pig curiously. Mom, where did this big pig come from? Enai Yang asked Enai Tsuehua. Enai Tsuehua replied, your mom bought it. Enai Yang was taken aback. What did you buy this for? To raise it ourselves? Enai Tsuehua laughed. How could we raise it ourselves? Our house is going to have the beam raising the day after tomorrow, right? I deliberately bought a big fat pig back so that we could have a good feast for our fellow villagers. If not for the villagers from Jinghua village, how could their family have easily gotten the homestead? Enai Tsuehua was not an ungrateful person. She and Enai Yang had always kept this in mind. Enai Yang nodded. Mom, your considerations are indeed comprehensive. Purchasing a big fat pig, along with the pig innards, would not only enable everyone to eat well, but also look good when word spread out. Indeed, they had taken care of both behind-the-scenes and upfront efforts. Enai Yang asked further. Mom, where did you buy this pig? Enai Tsuehua replied. From the next village. Apparently, that family is really having a hard time. They only have a daughter who was cheated and is now pregnant. They don't even have the money to get an abortion. Otherwise, they would not be selling the pig at this time. One must know, at this time, keeping a pig in rural areas is of great importance. Because farmers depend entirely on pig manure and chicken droppings for fertilizers. The annual crop yield depends entirely on how efficient the big fat pig is at excreting. After all, how much chicken droppings can there be? Furthermore, pigs are not picky eaters. Just cut some pig grass and feed it to them, and they can have pork during the new year. A case of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Enai Yang frowned slightly. Didn't they call the police? What use is it if the man denies it after they call the police? I heard that there's now something that can determine parentage, but the child has to be born first. Which innocent maiden would willingly take this kind of risk? No one would risk their future, so they could only suffer in silence, choosing to abort the child. Enai Yang sighed. Enai Tsuehua continued. Now some people are really too cruel. They knew the family was in a hurry to sell their big fat pig, and they managed to haggle the price down to 50 yuan from 210 yuan. Mom, you didn't haggle, did you? Enai Yang asked. Enai Tsuehua replied. We've all been through hard times, of course I didn't haggle. We should pay what we should, we can't take advantage of people in their time of need. Enai Tsuehua not only did not haggle, but she even gave an extra 50 yuan. Enai Yang nodded. Mom, you're right. Time flew and soon it was the next day. Since the beam raising was taking place the next day, Enai Yang began preparing the meals for the beam raising day. Enai Tsuehua found a butcher to slaughter the big fat pig that afternoon. and I Yang was in the kitchen making pickled pepper chicken feet. Pickled pepper chicken feet are a delicacy in Sichuan and Chongqing, which hadn't spread to Beijing yet, so people mostly ate chicken feet braised or boiled. First, he cut the chicken feet in half, then boiled them to remove the smell. After that, he added spring onions, ginger, garlic, star anise, and Sichuan peppercorns with liquor and boiled them in water for 10 minutes. Chapter 395. The results are out. A slap in the face came so fast. 5. After 10 minutes, they were drained and rinsed with cold water, put into a large container, and then the pickled peppers and their juice were added in. The pickled peppers were made by Inai Yang last summer. She used bird's eye chilies, and just uncovering the pickle jar brought forth a tangy, spicy aroma, blended with a slight hint of garlic, making people salivate immediately. Besides adding chopped pickled peppers and pickling juice, Inai Yang also added a chopped lemon. Due to the large quantity of chicken feet, a whole lemon was needed. The pickled chicken feet tasted crunchy and spongy in every bite, with the fragrance and chewiness lingering in the mouth. The spicy and sour taste made people want to swallow their tongue along with each bite, unable to stop eating them. Inai Yang first tasted pickled chicken feet in her previous life, so while making it, she couldn't help but swallow in anticipation. They were simply too delicious. The exam ended yesterday, and today the paper correction began. Over 20 teachers were seated around a large joined table. The only sound was the constant rustle of correcting papers. Suddenly, a short-haired teacher gasped, "Oh my God! This student has every answer correct. Full marks." Her voice instantly grabbed the attention of all the teachers. "Teacher Wu, what subject are you grading?" "English." "English? That's truly astonishing." English had recently been added to the college entrance exam subjects, and the general English level of the people was not high. It was impressive to score between 60 and 70 out of a full marks paper. No one had ever heard of full marks. "Let me see. I want to see too." The teachers who were grading the papers all gathered around Teacher Wu. "Oh my God! This student's handwriting is beautiful. Looking at this writing, I would hate to deduct any marks." Teacher Wu turned the paper over and let us see the student's name. Inai Yang. What a lovely name. Several teachers exclaimed in awe while surrounding Inai Yang's paper. Then they continued grading their papers. Gradually, the office is filled with more gasps. "I've just come across Inai Yang too. She got full marks in math as well." In Chinese, 3 points were deducted for the text comprehension, but no other points lost. Full marks in history. Full marks in chemistry. Full marks in biology. Oh my God! This student is amazing. Definitely a star student. This was the first time in many years that the city high school had come across such an impressive student. The teachers grading the papers excitedly reported this to the principal. The principal, holding Inai Yang's paper, his hands were shaking in excitement. He had a vague recollection of Inai Yang. Because this girl was exceptionally beautiful. Initially, he thought such a beautiful girl was probably just for show. Little did he expect that she would surprise him so much. With such excellent grades, getting into a top university was a certainty. She might even become the city's top scorer. If she truly becomes the top scorer, it would not just be her glory, but also the glory of her homeroom teacher, the principal, and the entire school. Actually, there was competition among schools, and these years, the city's top scorer had been grabbed by other high schools in the county. City High School had not been able to show face in a long time. "Principal, what class do you plan on putting Inai Yang into?" At that, the other teachers neighboring him perked up. Inai Yang was now a hot commodity. What teacher wouldn't like to have an outstanding student? Which teacher wouldn't hope to guide a city top scorer? Guiding a city top scorer would not only mean a reward from the authorities, it also meant an excellent teacher award, and even possibly interviews from television stations. People live their lives for their reputation. Who wouldn't want to become famous? "Principal, I think the learning environment in our class is very suitable for Inai Yang." A teacher immediately near him rebutted. "I can hear you chattering all the way from the first floor to the third floor where your class is. Teacher Lin, does the learning environment really exist in your class?" "What do you know? Our class integrates work and rest. Even if our class is noisy, it's still better than yours. Principal, I believe our class is more suitable for Yang. Teacher Zhao, don't dream about Yang, with those delinquents in your class. Even if Yang does go to your class, she will probably be held back. A fight broke out between the teachers for the right of Yang to be in their class. Everyone's face was flushed, no one willing to give up. Chapter 396. The results are out. A slap in the face came so fast. 6. Principal Zhao spoke at the right moment. Let's stop arguing. The students will be evenly distributed to each class, except for Yang, who will be assigned by lottery. The homeroom teacher who corrects the tests gets to draw in a luck of the draw. Whichever of you draws Yang, she will join your class. Does anyone still have objections? I don't. I don't either. Once the lottery drawing is in place, what else can be objected? Principal, let's start the draw now. Yes. Let's get started. Everyone was in a hurry. Principal Zhao went on. Wait a minute. Could one of you fetch Teacher Zhang Chang to join the draw? Get Zhang Chang to come over? Why? Zhang Chang isn't even involved in grading the tests. Principal, do we really need to involve Zhang? Principal, isn't this a bit unfair? We were the ones who discovered Yang. How can you invite Zhang Chang? The more people drawing, the less chance we'll have of getting selected. Exactly. Principal Zhao explained. Yang was recommended by Zhang Chang's partner. It would be improper if we didn't invite him, right? If it weren't for Zhang Chang, Yang might not have even considered coming to our school, especially since our middle school is adjacent to 2 other schools. But Zhang Chang is an odd one. He had such a promising student right in front of him, but instead let her take the exam. If he's lucky enough to draw Yang, that's fine. If he doesn't, he'll probably regret it forever. Since the principal had said so, the teachers, being reasonable people, quickly sent someone to call Zhang Chang. When Teacher Qi arrived at the staff dormitory, Zhang Chang was cooking red braised fish at home, filling the air with a rich aroma. Zhang, stop cooking. Quickly come with me to the principal's office. What's the matter, Qi? Zhang Chang asked as he turned down the heat. Good news, said Teacher Qi excitedly. A big piece of good news. What good news has got you laughing like this? Zhang Chang asked curiously. Teacher Qi continued. There's a dark horse among the transfer students from yesterday's test who we think could be the top student in the city. Upon hearing this, Zhang Chang's spirit rose sharply. Really? Why would I lie about this? Qi laughed. The principal asked me to let you know about the lottery draw. Turn off the stove and let's get going. Would the principal really be that kind? He even asked him to join the lottery draw? Zhang Chang suspiciously turned off the stove, removed his apron, and followed Teacher Qi out. Qi, what's going on? Why did the principal invite me to the lottery draw? Teacher Qi explained as they walked. This dark horse seems to have some connections with you. Zhang Chang was confused. What does it have to do with me? Teacher Qi continued. The student's name is Yang. I heard she was recommended by your partner. Upon hearing this, Zhang Chang was dumbfounded. What? Yang is the dark horse? What's going on here? Is he dreaming? Zhang Chang pinched his thigh hard. Hiss. It hurts. So this isn't a dream. She continued. Yang is really incredible. She scored full marks in maths, biology, chemistry, English and history. She made just one mistake in Chinese. Zhang, how could you have not kept such a talented student for yourself? His last sentence was laced with a sense of gloating. He was mocking Zhang Chang's lack of foresight. He had sacrificed something significant just to maintain his class overall college placement rate. Truly regrettable. He could have had this dark horse for himself, but to his surprise he had turned her away. One can imagine how Zhang Chang must be feeling right now. He was really upset. After a while he asked, Qi, are you joking with me? Is the dark horse really Yang? Is Yang really that talented? Teacher Qi said. Why would I joke about something like this? Zhang Chang continued. Could it be another Yang with the same name? Teacher Qi shook his head and laughed. Shouldn't be the case, we've confirmed it. Among this batch of examinees, except for a few people named Chunhua Chuyue, Almost none of them have the same name. With that, Teacher Chi added, Zhang, if you really think it's someone else with the same name, you can opt out of the lottery. Opt out? Why would Zhang Chang do that? No one could resist the honor that the top student brings. Before long, the two arrived at the principal's office. Teacher Zhang, you're here? Principal Zhao smiled at Zhang Chang. Zhang Chang smiled back. Principal. No matter what, Anai Yang was someone he introduced. Since she was destined to be in his class, he was bound to win the draw. He was sure he'd win. Zhang Chang comforted himself. The principal held a handful of crumpled slips of paper. There are 21 slips of paper here. One of them has Anai Yang's name written on it. Whoever draws that piece will become Anai Yang's homeroom teacher. He then put the slips into a box and shook it. Who wants to go first? It seemed a bit unfair to let anyone go first. In the end, the teachers decided to use rock, paper, scissors to determine the order of the draw. 10 minutes later, everyone was holding a small piece of paper. Everyone was apprehensive. Everyone was praying they'd draw the right slip. The principal smiled. Teachers, what are you waiting for? Look at your slips. Upon his words, everyone began to secretly peek at their slips. The next second, a series of sighs swept through the room. Zhang Chang hadn't dared to look at his slip. Seeing everyone sighing around him, he felt a sense of relief. If they didn't win, then he had to be the winner. Zhang, look quickly. What are you waiting for? She urged Zhang Chang impatiently. Yeah, Zhang, hurry up. Zhang Chang boasted. Is there a need to look? I'm sure I've won the lottery. Everything happens for a reason. Anai Yang was introduced by me after all. She is destined to be in our class. How could anyone else get her? Just then an exuberant voice erupted in the room. I won. I won the lottery. Everyone turned their heads to look, and saw the near 50-year-old teacher Su, as excited as a child. And Zhang Chang's face changed in an instant, his smile froze on his lips. How can this be? Chapter 397. Let you see people through the crack of the door, up on the beam. _1 Was I not the one who drew the lot? Zhang Chang immediately opened the paper in his hand, only to see it was completely blank. Teacher Su grabbed Zhang Chang's hand excitedly, mumbling incoherently. Teacher Zhang, I can't thank you enough. I'm so grateful that you introduced such an outstanding student to our school. Although he was lucky, he still had to thank Zhang Chang. Without Zhang Chang, it was unclear whether Anai Yang would have come to City No. 3 Middle School or not. The expression on Zhang Chang's face was in stark contrast to that of Teacher Zu's. No problem. After a long while, Zhang Chang managed to squeeze out this sentence. The other teachers were all joking about Teacher Su treating them to a meal. Teacher Su, happy at acquiring an excellent disciple, replied with a cheerful heart. Come on. Today I'm treating everyone to meat and wine. Don't hold back. The crowd followed Teacher Su out, all seeming very pleased, except for Zhang Chang, whose smile was forced and who seemed downcast. While the others merely missed out on being assigned Anai Yang, he had completely overlooked her. No one could understand this kind of discomfort. At this moment, Zhang Chang couldn't help but want to slap himself. You only have yourself to blame for peeping. No point talking about it now. In the afternoon, Anai Tsuehua held her child, and invited everyone from every household to participate in the topping out ceremony the next day. And all the elderly and children at home are also invited. The next day, May 28th. Auspicious for engagement, marriage, worship, entering the house, erecting columns, construction, etc. Actually, the house was almost completely built, and it was Anai Yang who deliberately chose the day for the raising of the roof beams. Although she initially didn't believe in such things, after her rebirth, Anai Yang had started to hold strong belief in them. Early in the morning, Anai Yang was already out of bed. She stood in front of the mirror, tied her glossy black hair into a bun, showing off her fair and graceful swan neck. She wore a red shirt and a pair of pencil pants, exuding a youthful aura. When Mo Chishan arrived, Anai Yang was fetching water by the well. She was wearing a pair of pink slippers, had rolled up her pants twice, revealing her ankles as white as jade, with rows of delicate toes, pink and white, like little seashells. Seeing the scene before him, Emo-chishin was a bit taken aback. After a while, he approached En-ai-young and took the bucket from her hands. En-ai-young didn't expect Emo-chishin to suddenly show up. She stumbled on the stone at the edge of the well and almost fell, but luckily Emo-chishin was quick to steady her by the waist. "Be careful." He held her waist with one hand and the bucket with the other without spilling a drop of water, demonstrating his composure. Surprised, En-ai-young looked up. "Brother Emo, when did you get here?" Emo-chishin cleared his throat, speaking in a somewhat low voice. "Just now. By the way, where should this bucket of water go?" "Just put it in the water jar in the kitchen." En-ai-young replied. "All right." Emo-chishin nodded, carrying the water toward the kitchen. In the kitchen was a large water jar used to store water for cooking. Emo-chishin poured the water from the bucket into the jar, just covering the bottom of the jar. Emo-chishin turned to look at En-ai-young. "Young, do you always carry the water like this?" "Yes." En-ai-young nodded. A bucket of water weighed about 20 to 30 pounds. Even a sturdy man would feel the strain after carrying 7 or 8 buckets a day. How old was En-ai-young? Yet she was doing such heavy work. Usually, girls her age in other households were still spoiled little princesses. With this thought, Emo-chishin's eyes filled with a tinge of heartache. En-ai-young laughed. "Brother Emo, what are you thinking about? Let me tell you, I'm very capable. These buckets of water are nothing to me." Just a few buckets of water, indeed, were of no concern to En-ai-young. But the feeling of her boyfriend carrying the water instead of her was completely different. It was a strange feeling that En-ai-young of the previous life had never experienced. Mo-chishin looked at En-ai-young and said, Young, in the future, leave all the heavy work at home to me. If I'm not in Beijing, you can directly ask Wu Daming." En-ai-young replied, "I'm not a helpless damsel." Though she quite enjoyed the feeling, it was not necessary to leave everything for Emo-chishin to do. If she relied on Emo-chishin for everything, wouldn't she become just like a bird in a cage? Moreover, love needs maintenance. If one becomes overly dependent on the other, the balance of love would be lost. Chapter 398. Letting you peek at people through the door gap, up on the beam. _2. The love En-ai-young fantasized about was a relationship between equals. Emo-chishin always respected En-ai-young. He then asked, after fetching the water, "What shall we do next?" En-ai-young replied, "After fetching the water, let's go to our neighbors to borrow some tables and stools." "Why borrow them? Don't we have tables at home?" Emo-chishin asked, puzzled. En-ai-young explained, "Later, a lot of guests will be coming to our house, and we certainly won't have enough tables and stools." "Oh." Emo-chishin nodded in understanding. Soon, the water tank was filled, and En-ai-young took Emo-chishin next door to borrow tables and stools. Emo-chishin had visited Jinghua village many times before, and he once distributed candies and cigarettes in the village, so everyone had a good impression of him. In no time, more than a dozen tables and stools were set up in the courtyard. While En-ai-young and En-ai-tsuehua were busy in the kitchen, Emo-chishin was setting 2 pots of milk tea and sour plum soup, and a large plate of pickled chicken feet on each table. The white chicken feet, combined with yellow and red millet peppers, looked especially appealing, like jewels. "Brother Emo, you should try a chicken foot." En-ai-young picked up a chicken foot with her hand and held it at Emo-chishin's mouth. Emo-chishin opened his mouth to take it. En-ai-young suddenly felt a slight pain in her finger. She looked up and saw a mischievous face. It then dawned on En-ai-young that this man had done it on purpose, and she swiftly withdrew her finger. "You're such a dog." Leaning into her ear, Emo-chishin whispered, Young, don't you always call me a doggy?" The warm breath spray on En-ai-young's cheek caused her face to turn red instantly. This man was indeed a jerk. En-ai-young reached out and pinched his waist. His muscles were firm and felt good to touch. Just from a pinch, she could tell that underneath his clothes, his body was great. At that moment, En-ai-tsuehua came in carrying 5 large watermelons. En-ai-young quickly withdrew her hand and said, "Mom." En-ai-tsuehua continued, Young, you and Xiaoma, cut up these watermelons and distribute them to everyone." "All right." Emo-chishin immediately reached out take them. These were early ripened watermelons in early June. Their skins were thin, and their flesh was red. Each bite released a burst of juicy sweetness, crisp and sweet. In-Yang and Imo-chishin took the cut watermelons to the new house next door. By now, the rose vines had climbed over the wall. The vibrant green leaves fluttered in the wind, while the bright red buds peeked through the leaves, lending a calming view. In the yard were swings, lawns, and a little path paved with pebbles. The lawn was planted by In-Yang using grass seeds. Compared to the hard cement ground, she preferred the soft grass carpet. The sturdy, dense lawn was like the one on a golf course, so even on rainy days, she wouldn't worry about it getting muddy. Above the swings, they had planted 2 vines of grapes. At this time, the green leaves of the grapes had quietly climbed up the trellis. The newly planted grapes would not bear fruit in the same year, but should be ready to harvest by next year. They had planted 2 large hydrangeas on the left side of the yard, beside which was a small pond. The pond was built with cement and pebbles at the bottom. In a few days, In-Yang planned to buy some water lilies and goldfish to keep in it. They also planted a circle of orchid grass and an osmanthus tree around the pond. Ahead was a delicately built small building. The small building was a blend of Eastern and Western design. The load-bearing walls were made of bricks, and the exterior was decorated with wood. The intricately carved wooden doors and windows, pink walls and black tile roofs, in combination with the yard design, created an illusion of being in Jiangnan's water town. The building spanned 3 stories and covered more than 1,000 square feet in total. The top floor was waiting for the auspicious time of the beam-raising ceremony, so the tiles had not yet been laid. Although Imo-chishin had been to the In family's house several times, he never stayed long. This was the first time he had stepped inside, and he was a bit surprised. "Yang, did you hire an architect to design this house?" This little building and courtyard were charming, like a miniaturized version of Jiangnan. In-Yang smiled and said, "I just designed it casually myself." "You designed it yourself?" Imo-chishin was slightly surprised. Although he had seen In-Yang's design for the milk teacups before, a house and a cup were 2 completely different things. Designing a house requires not only a background in drawing, but also a strong foundation in architecture. Otherwise, the house may end up unsafe. In-Yang nodded. "I've always yearned for the lifestyle of the Jiangnan Watertown scenes of small bridges over streams and households. So, I designed this farmhouse courtyard based on the books I've read before. Brother Imo, what do you think?" Chapter 399. Letting you observe people through the door slit, up on the beam. _3. Great. Amazing. Imo-chishin was so impressed by his wife that he began to worry if he was a good match for In-Yang. It seems like he needs to work even harder now. The couple placed the watermelon on a table on the first floor, and In-Yang loudly called for Wang Tiniu to bring the other workers downstairs to enjoy the fruit. Soon, Wang Tiniu led the others downstairs. "Yang, you're really too kind. Xiaoma is here too." "Xiaoma. Hello uncles." Imo-chishin politely greeted everyone, and began to distribute cigarettes. Still packets of yellow crane tower, costing 20 yuan each. My goodness. Is this young man super rich or something? Last time at the noodle restaurant, they were given yellow crane tower cigarettes, and here at the In family's place, this is the case again. As the saying goes, being treated kindly and accepting gifts will soften one's heart. After enjoying the cigarettes, which man wouldn't give a thumbs up and praise Imo-chishin for being a good guy? You have to admit, Imo-chishin impresses people. He shows none of the arrogance you might expect from a wealthy young man. "Xiaoma, how old are you this year?" Wang Tiniu asked curiously. 28, Imo-chishin answered. Another man eating watermelon chimed in. "He is 10 years older than our Yang. "Xiaoma, you'd better not bully Yang, or otherwise we all won't let you off." Imo-chishin responded. "Rest assured uncles, I would never bully Yang in my life." Wang Tiniu said seriously, "Xiaoma, I'm not joking with you. Yang is our village's little lucky star. If you dare to bully her, all the people in our village will come after you." Other girls' weddings are usually supported by their brothers, but behind In there's an entire village. Jinghua village is the strongest backing for In The simple villagers may not use beautiful words, but they will prove their dedication through actual actions. Whoever dares to bully an Yang, they are prepared to fight. Mo Chishan said to Uncle Tiniu. I'm serious too. I will be nice to Yang Yang for my whole life. I won't retaliate even if she hits or scolds me. One of the robust men comforted. Xiaoma, you can rest assured. Our Yang Yang is a good girl. She definitely wouldn't hit or scold you for no reason. If she does, it must be your fault. You're right. Xiaoma, you must have accumulated a lot of good karma in your past life to meet our Yang Yang. You're right. Mo Chishan was modest and polite, gentle and elegant. No matter what everyone said, he didn't get upset. People started to like him even more. Around 9 in the morning, villagers started to arrive in groups. The small rural yard that was once quiet immediately became lively. Everyone didn't come empty-handed. Some brought chicken, others brought ducks, and some brought red envelopes. Anyway, no one came empty-handed. Although Mo Chishan had shown his face in the village before, many people still didn't know him. Therefore, Yang and Mo Chishan greeted everyone together, and introduced Mo Chishan to them. This young man looks strong. Yang Yang, your taste is not bad. What does your family do, young man? Young man, you can't bully our Yang Yang. Mo Chishan once again witnessed Yang's high popularity in Jinghua village. Lunch was scheduled for 12:30 p.m. The auspicious time for construction was 12 p.m. Taking advantage of the gap in between, everyone sat in the yard, sipping milk tea and sour plum soup, and chatting leisurely. There are rarely moments in rural life when people can be so relaxed, so everyone enjoyed chatting very much. On each table was a plate of pickled chili chicken feet, but no one dared to eat it, because everyone could tell that the chicken feet were not fully cooked. How can raw chicken feet be edible? There's always a saying in rural areas that eating raw meat can cause mad cow disease, so even if people were extremely hungry, they wouldn't eat raw meat. Grandma, why aren't you eating the chicken feet? Xiaohua asked an elderly lady with white hair. Grandma Xiaohua hesitated. The chicken feet look like they're not cooked. It's a mystery why Yang would serve a plate of undercooked chicken feet. Is it just for show? With its lemon slices and colored peppers, it did look quite appealing, but it also looked a bit unappetizing. If you're suggesting that Yang wanted to host a feast but didn't want anyone to eat, that's simply impossible because she's not stingy at all. Chapter 400. Allowing you to see people through the door crack, up on the beam. _4. Nobody knew what Yang was really up to. I'll try one. Xiaohua reached for a chicken foot. Before Grandma Xiaohua could stop her, Xiaohua had already taken a bite of the chicken foot. Grandma Xiaohua anxiously said, spit it out quickly. You can't eat raw meat. Are you silly, child? Grandma, this chicken foot isn't raw. It tastes really good. You won't believe it until you try it. Xiaohua held the chicken foot up to her grandma's face. As everyone knows, when you bite into a cooked chicken foot, there should be blood inside. But the chicken foot in Xiaohua's hand didn't have a single drop of blood. It was clearly cooked. But was it really that delicious? Grandma Xiaohua bit into it with a mix of belief and doubt. Upon tasting it, the flavor truly was astonishing. A tangy and spicy taste spread throughout her mouth. The chicken foot had a rich flavor. It was nothing like it appeared to be. It was appetizing and refreshing. It was way more delicious than braised chicken feet. Grandma Xiaohua couldn't help but nod her head. Delicious, it's really delicious. The others at the table curiously asked, is it really that good? Of course, Grandma Xiaohua replied. If you don't believe it, try it yourself. The others picked up a chicken foot with a mixture of trust and doubt. Suddenly, exclamations erupted all around. Yang is really amazing. Wow, so delicious. Oh my God. I've never eaten such delicious chicken feet before. The commotion at their table quickly grabbed the attention of the tables next to them. One after another got affected. Within moments, there were no chicken feet left on the table as everyone had finished them off. Wu Daming walked in from outside, with a slight shock in his eyes from seeing so many people in the courtyard. Seeing so many people on the day of the roof beam raising showed that his sister-in-law had a high status in the village. Wu Daming grew up in the countryside and knew the customs of the village. If the hostess was not well liked in the village, there wouldn't be so many people present on the day of the roof beam raising. There were so many people in the courtyard that it took Wu Daming quite a while to find Mo Qishan, who was mingling among the people, handing out cigarettes. Is that really Mo Qishan? Could Mo Qishan really be acting so humbly? Wu Daming swallowed in surprise. Brother 6. Wu Daming, suppressing his astonishment, approached Mo Qishan. Mo Qishan nodded and said, "You've arrived. Have all the things been prepared?" "Brother 6, you can count on me." Wu Daming patted his chest in assurance. Mo Qishan turned his head to the side and asked in a low voice, "Do you have any more Yellow Crane Tower cigarettes?" "No." Wu Daming shook his head. Yellow Crane Tower cigarettes were 20 yuan a pack, and they were not something that he could afford to smoke. Furthermore, Wu Daming had just built a new house, and he needed to save money for home decor. Mo Qishan handed Wu Daming a few bills. "Go and buy me a few packs of Yellow Crane Tower cigarettes, and be quick." Knowing that there would be many people today, Mo Qishan had specially brought 5 packs of Yellow Crane Tower. But after circulating it twice, there were only a few left of the Yellow Crane Tower. "All right," Wu Daming continued. "The things are on the farm machine outside. Brother 6, you can take sister-in-law to check it out." After saying that, Wu Daming turned and left. Mo Qishan found Yang in the kitchen. "Yang, come out with me." "Okay." Yang followed Mo Qishan out. Outside, there was a blue farm vehicle parked. At that time, cars were very rare and a few children were already playing on it. In the back of the car were several large appliances. A Swan brand washing machine. A Snowflake brand fridge. The Snowflake fridge was launched in 1956. It was one of the earliest premium products in China, and it has won the favor of many domestic and foreign consumers. Also became a source of pride for the Chinese people. There was also an air conditioner that can cool the room. Summer was just around the corner, and with the air conditioner, one could truly enjoy a cool summer. All the appliances on the truck were what Yang wanted to buy, but she had been unable to get them, not because she didn't have the money, but because she didn't have the channels. In the 1980s, the difficulty of transport resulted in great limitations on the movement of goods, making it hard for people to buy what they wanted. Mo Qishan then said, Yang, these are my housewarming gifts to you, please accept them." Yang hesitated for a moment. "Brother Mo, these are too precious. I can't accept them." Even though she was now Mo Qishan's girlfriend, she still had principles to uphold. No matter what, she couldn't accept these expensive gifts from him. Chapter 401. Letting you watch people through the gap in the door, up on the beam. _5. Mo Qishan chuckled. Yang Daming is in this business. It's just a few machines, not worth much money. You don't have to feel pressured. Yang laughed lightly. "Big brother Mo, do you realize if others heard you say this, they might kill you?" What others might consider hard-to-get assets were just insignificant machines in Mo Qishan's eyes. He could get as many as he wanted, simply by asking. Yang, accept them." Mo Qishan said in a somewhat pitiful tone. "Are you going to reject my sincere offering?" Yang couldn't say no. She accepted them, planning to repay him in another way someday. When others in the yard learned that Mo Qishan had gifted Yang with large appliances as housewarming gifts, they all came out to see. "This is a refrigerator? I heard that ice pops are made by refrigerators." Yes, I've heard that too." Yang, what is this?" An elderly woman with white hair pointed at the washing machine and asked Yang. Yang replied with a smile, "Granny Chen, this is a washing machine." "Washing machine?" Granny Chen wondered. "What's a washing machine? Can it wash clothes automatically?" Yang nodded. "Yes, it can." Granny Chen exclaimed in surprise. "Can this small cabinet wash clothes? It doesn't even have hands. How does it wash clothes? Can it clean them properly? I've lived for so long and have never seen such a thing." "Yeah, I'm curious too. Can it really clean clothes? And what's this cabinet-like thing?" "I recognize this cabinet. I've seen it before at my cousin's place. It's like an electric fan, but it can blow out really chilly wind in the summer, the kind that makes you shiver." "Cold enough to shiver?" Aren't you exaggerating? Who would shiver in the summer? Everyone found it unbelievable. I'm not exaggerating, not at all. At my cousin's place, when it was 38 degrees outside, I still needed a quilt inside. What did my cousin call this thing? A window something? Oh yeah, a window unit. And I Yang said. Aunt Allen is correct. This is a window unit. It has cooling effects in the summer, much better than a fan. Hearing this, everyone exclaimed about how ingenious people are these days, even inventing such high-tech stuff. Soon Wu Daming returned with a bag full of cigarettes. Brother Lu here. Thanks. Mo Chishan took the bag and handed out cigarettes to the men. Watching Mo Chishan distributing the cigarettes among the crowd, Wu Daming felt as though he was hallucinating. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would never have believed what was happening. It was soon 11:45. There were only 15 minutes left to the auspicious time for the raising of the roof beam at noon. The raising of the beam refers to the installation of the main beam in the middle of the roof. In rural areas, there's a saying, with a roof beam, there's abundance at home. Without a beam, the livestock won't thrive. Therefore, the raising of the beam is a particularly important tradition. However, in modern times, people mostly buy homes in the city and gradually forget about this custom. Before the raising of the beam, the carpenter would paint the wooden beam red. Then 4 carpenters and a male member of the owner's family would lift the beam onto the roof together. This male member could either be the man of the house, his son, son-in-law, or grandson. If there are no men in the family, a woman could perform the task. Big brother Mo, you should join the others to lift the beam. Na Yang turned to Mo Chishan. Me. Mo Chishan widened his eyes. Na Yang raised an eyebrow gracefully. What, you don't want to? Of course I want to. Mo Chishan nodded fervently. He was just feeling unexpectedly overwhelmed because the raising of the beam is a huge deal. He didn't expect Na Yang would let him take part. It turned out that he held such an important place in Na Yang's heart. With an excited heart, Mo Chishan went to join the others in lifting the beam. As a series of noises sounded out, the carpenter started his chant. Stairs step by step, holding a flower basket picking immortal peach. After the beam was installed, the carpenter began the ritual of scattering sweets on the beam and sang again. Holding the sugar as white as frost, from east beam scattered to the west beam. When scattered on the beam, blessed sons are born, the ends of the beams will produce scholars. Elders who pick it up will have blessings and longevity, the young who pick it up will have boys. Men who pick it up will be as strong as bulls. Women who pick it up will be as beautiful as peonies. Chapter 402. Allowing you to peek at people through the door gap, up on the beam. _6. The scattering part is what people look forward to the most. Just as the singing described, the carpenter began to throw candy, peanuts, and other snacks from the roof. On the ground, adults, children, young, old, practically everyone was jostling together to grab candies. The scene was very lively. Na Yang prepared over 50 pounds of candy, plus cookies, peanuts, and the likes, weighing around 70 to 80 pounds. So, practically everyone was able to get some. During this era, a typical family would prepare 4 or 5 pounds of candy at most for a rafter-raising ceremony. There were none as generous as Na Yang. So everyone was extraordinarily happy while grabbing candies. Everyone could grab some. Even the old woman who was hard on her feet managed to grab a whole bag. After the rafter-raising ceremony ended, it was time to eat. The lunch was splendid, with large bowls of braised pork, succulent roasted lamb legs, and savory beef stew noodles. Moreover, Na Yang prepared a refined gift for every guest at the table, regardless of age. Na Yang was no fool. Since everyone brought gifts, she couldn't let them leave empty-handed. The gifts were wrapped in a red handkerchief, with a pack of cigarettes, 18 candies, and a red envelope with 5 yuan inside. After finishing their meal, everyone didn't just rush off. Instead, they stayed to help Enai Tsuehua wash the dishes and clean up. There were so many dishes. If left to Enai Tsuehua and Na Yang alone, how long would it take them to tidy up? The more the merrier. In a little while, they had restored the courtyard to its original state, all neat and tidy. By evening, Na Yang walked Mo Chishan home. Brother Mo, you had a hard-working day. The setting sun draped the pair in golden light. The scene was as romantic as a TV drama. Emo Chishin replied casually. Not at all. Yang, I never knew before today that a house raising could be such a lively event. Emo Chishin had never participated in a rafter raising ceremony before. It was a pleasant first experience. Yang reached out and took Emo Chishin's hand. Brother Emo, no matter what, I have to thank you for today. Emo Chishin tightened his grasp. With a faint smile on his lips, he said, Yang, if you really want to thank me, do it in a more practical way. Yang knew he was teasing her again, and raised her eyebrows slightly. You're thinking quite prettily, huh? Do you know what I'm thinking? Emo Chishin looked down at Yang's profile. Under the setting sun, her profile seemed to glow. Her clear eyes hid constellations of stars, making people wish they could offer her everything beautiful in this world. Wake up, stop dreaming. Yang removed her hand and pinched Emo Chishin's face. It's daytime, not the time for dreams. Emo Chishin's face reddened from the pinch. He didn't make a sound, only a softened smile spread across his face. All right. Yang suddenly changed her tone. Brother Emo, did you hire a teacher for Xiaodai yet? I did. Emo Chishin replied. Also, the publishers have been contacted. They think highly of Xiaodai's writings, saying she has the potential to become a writer. Yang nodded. Xiaodai has always been smart. Yang grinned subtly. Li Xiangxian's downfall is near. It's not far now. With a curve of her lips, Yang thought deeply. When they reached the fork in the road, Emo Chishin halted. Okay, Yang, this is far enough. Better get back now. Okay, brother Emo, take your time on the road, be careful. Yang waved at Emo Chishin. After bidding Emo Chishin goodbye, Yang headed back, kicking at gravel along the road as she walked, lost in thoughts. Over at Li Xiangxian's. Since her last visit to the Emo family, Li Xiangxian's mood hadn't been good. Even though she was now Baichuan's girlfriend, the old Mr. and Mrs. Emo were not as enthusiastic as before. Moreover, the couple Emo Rongping and Xiao Jiao didn't seem fond of her. Otherwise, during the banquet, Emo Rongping and Xiao Jiao wouldn't have made her feel uncomfortable in public. What should she do now? Li Xianxian sat at the desk, her expression filled with worries. Even if she were a famous writer, without being able to marry into the Emo family, it would all be in vain. Becoming a famous writer could only add luster to her. After all, she was limited in the amount of work she could remember. It seemed she had to find a solution once and for all. Li Xianxian squinted her eyes, and a cunning idea quickly flashed through her mind. Maybe she could advance through her child. A rich family like the Emo family would certainly value their descendants. And since Baichuan is the eldest son and grandson in the family, if she were to carry Baichuan's child, the Emo family would surely welcome her with open arms. Then, she could become a truly prestigious figure. Baichuan is a responsible man. And Yang is confident that as long as there's a child, Baichuan would be devoted to her and wouldn't think about that scoundrel Yang. Yes, she must have a child. With this thought, a smug smile crept onto Li Xiangxian's face. She picked up her purse, went to the pharmacy, but the first pharmacy didn't have what she wanted, so she went to the second, the third, and finally found what she wanted in the fifth. Today was the day to receive the test scores. Yang went to the city on her bike early in the morning. Because it was early, the streets were not crowded. Suddenly, a child ran onto the road. Yang's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly hit the brakes. Screech. A harsh braking sound resonated. The child seemed stunned. His face turned white in an instant, and he looked like he had forgotten how to react. Hey kiddo, are you okay? Yang quickly stabilized her bike, got off and approached the child. I'm all right. The surprised child shook his head weakly. This was a boy of about 4 or 5. Because of malnutrition, he was thin and pale. His clothes were ragged. One foot had a shoe on, the other did not. Where are your parents, kiddo? Yang asked next. Chapter 403. Even more beautiful than a fairy, the mother-daughter duo who are actresses _1. The little boy looked up at Yang. Fear in his eyes as if shrouded by a layer of gray. After a moment, he spoke in a tear-choked voice. My dad is at home. Can you not look for him, please? And Young laughed and said, "Don't worry, I won't look for him. Little one, remember to be cautious when crossing the roads. Stick to the pavements, no running. It's dangerous, understand?" The little boy nodded, his eyes welling up with tears. And Young took out some candies from her pocket. "Here, have this and stop crying. Big boys don't cry, they only shed blood." The little boy looked at the colorful candy, wiped his tears away, but didn't dare take it. There was something profoundly humbling about the gesture. "Take it, no need to be polite with me." And Young shoved the candy into the boy's hand and pocket. "By the way, what's your name?" The little boy sniffled. "I am Fua." And Young gently patted Fua's head. "Fua, I'm leaving now." Fua nodded. After Young left, Fua took a piece of candy out of his pocket. He carefully unwrapped it and put the candy in his mouth. It tasted so sweet. So sweet. So this is what candy tastes like. Fua held the candy wrapper up to his eyes, looking up at the sun. Through the dyed candy wrapper, the sun, the pedestrians, and the roadside scenery all turned into a rainbow of colors. After trying one piece of candy, Fua didn't dare to eat a second. Such delicious candy, his father would surely like it. Lost in his thoughts, Fua hurriedly started homewards. Fua lived in a cramped courtyard shared by 7 or 8 families. A few kids were playing hide and seek in the yard, their laughter echoing around. Fua watched from a distance, his eyes filled with longing. The wild child raised without a mother is back. Wild child. Wild child. The kids hopped around Fua, teasing him. Fua lowered his head, biting his lip, and quickly walked towards his home, pushing the door to enter. The moment the door was opened, the strong smell of traditional medicine hit him. The window in the room was shut, and it was dim inside. Fua picked up a stool, stood on it, and opened the window, propping it open with a stick. The strong light streamed in from the window, causing the man on the bed to open his eyes. Looking at the mosquito net hanging overhead, torn and worn, the man's eyes were filled with despair. He hadn't died yet. When would this kind of life end? "Dad." Fua ran to the bed and stood on his toes to look at the man. "You little devil. Why haven't you left yet?" The man's gaze suddenly turned fierce. "Dad," Fua sniffled, attempting to hold back his tears, "I have candy. Eating it will make you better." Fua took out a handful of candy from his pocket and placed them by the man's pillow. "Dad, let me unwrap one for you to try." The man yelled angrily. "Get out. Get the hell out of here right now." "I won't leave." Fua stubbornly wiped his tears away. "Fua is your son. Fua is not leaving anywhere." "Leave." The man closed his eyes, hiding the sorrow in them. He had to play both father and mother roles, and it hadn't been easy raising the child. How could he bear to chase Fua away? But he was helpless. Now bedridden, he needed someone to care for him for even the simplest of tasks. Fua was only 5 years old. How could he burden his child? Even if Fua was taken away by someone else, it would be better than staying with him a cripple. "Dad," Fua sobbed, "please don't drive me away. It'll be good. I won't make you angry again." He couldn't leave. If he left, what would happen to his dad? He couldn't leave his father all alone. The man let out a sigh, his eyes welling up with tears. Chokingly he said, "Go." "I won't go. If I must go, we'll go together." The man suddenly opened his eyes, staring fiercely at Fua. He angrily retorted, "Following me will only lead you to death. Your mother is already gone. Why won't you leave? Leave. Go far away from me, so I won't have to be annoyed by your sight. You're just like your goddamn mother, bringing bad luck. Only if you, this jinx, leaves, will I have good days." While he was crying, Fua, with trembling hands, unwrapped the candy and put the red candy in the man's mouth. "Dad, have a piece of candy. This candy is really sweet, I tasted it." Chapter 404. Better looking than a fairy, the mother-daughter duo who act _2. A hint of sweetness spread in his mouth, and the man suddenly began to sob quietly. How useless he was. Not only was he useless, but he had also harmed such a good child. Seeing that the man's emotions were slowly stabilizing, Fua cautiously asked, "Dad, can I stay now?" He didn't want a good life. He just wanted to stay with his father. As long as his father was there, home was there. Even if his father was lying in bed, he was the only pillar of support in his heart. You're not leaving. The man forced out through his stiff throat. I won't chase you away anymore. Really? Fua immediately brightened up, feeling like the whole world had lit up. The man nodded. Fua extended a small pinky finger towards the man. Dad, let's make a pinky promise. The man also extended his hand to Fua. As the father and son held finger to finger, the man asked, Fua, where did you get this candy? Fua said, Dad, this candy was given to me by a very beautiful sister. She has a very pleasant voice, just like Mom in my dreams. Fua had never seen his mother, but in his imagination, his mother was supposed to be a very gentle person. Really? The man looked at Fua. Fua nodded. The man went on to say, Fua, do you remember what your father told you? Fua replied, stealing an egg won't fill you up, but a bad reputation lasts a lifetime. The man continued, Fua, remember, no matter when, we can't do anything illegal. If you do wrong things too often, you will face retribution. He couldn't let his son follow his old path. Fua nodded obediently. I know, Dad. I want to rest, Fua, you go out to play. The man closed his eyes. Fua picked up the worn-out medicine jar next to the bed. I'm going to boil the medicine. Wait. The man reopened his eyes. Dad, what's wrong? Fua looked back. The man continued. Take the candy with you. Fua laughed and said, Dad, I don't like sweets. He wasn't fooling anyone, he just wanted to leave the sweets for his handicapped father. The man closed his eyes in pain. How could such a sensible child have such a useless father? Take it now. The man's expression suddenly turned fierce. Or you can get the hell out of here. Fua shivered in fear, quickly came over and put the candy into his pocket. Dad, don't be angry, don't chase me away. The man closed his eyes and began to sleep. Dad, remember to call me if you need anything. Fua quietly left the room and went to the open-air kitchen to boil the medicine. Looking at the 2 remaining packets of herbal medicine, Fua sighed. The medicine would only last for 2 more days. What to do? While boiling the medicine, Fua grabbed a small handful of coarse rice from the bottom of the rice vat and put it on a broken tile to make porridge. In a short while, the porridge was ready. The strong smell of herbal medicine was mixed with the faint aroma of rice. Fua spooned all the cooked porridge into a big bowl, dipped his finger in the bowl, smeared some rice soup around his mouth, and then carried the porridge into the room. Dad, it's time to eat. Fua spoke gently. Although the man's legs were paralyzed, his upper body and hands were still normal. He propped up his upper body to sit up. Why is there only 1 bowl? I have already eaten. Fua burped. I ate 2 large bowls of porridge. If you don't believe me, check my mouth. There was indeed some rice soup around Fua's mouth. Only then did the man feel relieved and started to eat his porridge. Dad'll go out now. Fua went outside, scooped up a large spoonful of cold water from the vat, and drank it all at once. Drink more water, eat a piece of candy, and you won't feel hungry. And Young rode her bicycle to school. Today was the day the transfer student grades were released, so the campus was crowded with people. From a distance, Han Xiaoyu saw an Yang, who stood out from the crowd. She rushed over. An Yang. Xiaoyu. An Yang gave a slight smile. Congratulations, An Yang. For what? An Yang looked at Han Xiaoyu with confusion. Han Xiaoyu was surprised and said, An Yang, you don't know yet? Know what? An Yang was even more puzzled. First place. Han Xiaoyu excitedly said, You got the first place. Although An Yang had the foundation from her past life, and was quite confident about this test, she really hadn't expected that she would achieve first place. Chapter 405. Better looking than a fairy, the mother-daughter duo who act _3. After all, when this newcomer is examined, it's not like there's a shortage of students with excellent academic performance. Really? Of course it's true. Han Xiaoyu continued. Would I joke about something like this? Come on, let me take you to see. Han Xiaoyu took In Yang to the bulletin board where the rankings were posted. A crowd of people stood in front of the board checking their scores. "Excuse me, coming through." Han Xiaoyu managed to squeeze In Yang into the crowd and pointed at the red list. "In Yang, look at this." In Yang? When the people around heard this, they all turned to look at In Yang. Could this In Yang be the one ranked first? Then, what Han Xiaoyu said next confirmed everyone's speculation. "In Yang, I told you that you are first. You're incredibly amazing. You scored full marks in math, English and history." The list posted not only the rankings but individual subject scores as well. Out of a total of 650 points, In Yang had scored a high 645 points. That was 80 points higher than the second rank. Surely, this was a score good enough to crush all the other students in the school. Although it was somewhat expected for In Yang to get full marks in math, history and political science, what was astonishing was that she scored full marks in English too. This was simply terrifying. In Yang responded with a smile. "I didn't expect to do this well either. By the way, Xiuyu, you did pretty good too." Han Xiaoyu was ranked in the top 15, only 18 points behind the second rank, which was a fairly good achievement as well. Han Xiaoyu laughed and said, "Speaking of this, I have you to thank In Yang. If it hadn't been for In Yang's encouragement urging her not to be nervous that day, she wouldn't have scored so well. It must be said, meeting a good friend in life is truly important." Zhou Xuemei came to the board full of excitement. She did well this time and believed she could get a good result. Her results were indeed good, ranking 9th, placing before Han Xiaoyu. She didn't expect that the silly Han Xiaoyu would also rank 15th this time. Zhou Xuemei snorted softly. Her eyes shifted, and when she read the name at the top of the board, her expression changed instantly. In Yang was first? It must be a case of having the same name, right? How could that infuriating tramp In Yang possibly rank first? Right. It must be a case of having the same name. Just then, Han Xiaoyu was walking towards her arm in arm with In Yang. "In Yang." Zhou Xuemei spoke out to stop In Yang. Since it was a case of having the same name, there was nothing she needed to be afraid of. She hadn't forgotten the bet she had made with In Yang on the day of the exam. "What is it?" In Yang frowned slightly at this, also recalling the bet they made that day. "Apologize to me." Zhou Xuemei crossed her arms and continued. "Not only should you apologize, but you should also admit that on that day you were pretending to know something you didn't, just to show off." "Apologize?" Han Xiaoyu burst into laughter. "Zhou Xuemei, you must be out of your mind. You're asking a person who got full marks in math to apologize. If anyone should apologize, it should be you to In Yang. Not only should you apologize, but you should also admit that you are jealous of In Yang." The students around them were not sure what was going on. Whispering to each other, those who understood the incident that day explained it to others. Hearing this, everyone seemed to get more excited. "Apologize to her? Han Xiaoyu, you're the one who's crazy. Didn't you see my rank? I'm in the 8th place. What rank could In Yang possibly secure? Maybe she didn't even pass the newcomer examination." Because other than the In Yang who topped the list, Zhou Xuemei did not find another In Yang. "You're just 8th. In Yang is the first." Zhou Xuemei mocked. "First? Han Xiaoyu, are you sure the In Yang who's first is the In Yang next to you? There are so many people with the same name. Like the Wang Chunhua ranked 7th, and the Wang Chunhua ranked 46th. At these words, everyone nodded in agreement. Yes, indeed. How did they forget about people having the same names? With so many taking the newcomer's exam, the occasional occurrence of one or two people having the same name was quite normal. And Yang was so gorgeous, and she was even sleeping in the examination room. She just didn't seem like the sort who could come first. Seeing that everyone was supporting her, Zhou Xuemei felt even more chips in her favor at the moment. And Yang apologize. Once she finished speaking, Zhou Xuemei continued. By the way, Yang, I heard you're selling noodles out there. Look at you, a noodle seller. Instead of minding your real business and selling your noodles, why the heck would you take the newcomer's exam? Isn't that a waste of an examination spot? In this era, working as a self-employed individual was regarded as the least promising career. even not as respected as the beggars on the street. Chapter 406. Better looking than a fairy. The mother-daughter duo who act _4. Back then there was a term speculators, used to describe sole proprietors. Among all things, only reading is noble. To these students, they disdain sole proprietors even more. Zhou Xuemei continued. And Yang, if you really don't want to apologize, forget it. Actually, I can understand if you don't perform well in the exam. After all, being a sole proprietor means you're up early and working late. How could you possibly focus on studying? Zhou Xuemei was extremely smug, looking at Yang with the eyes of someone pitying a wretched creature. Seemingly, this was a transfer student's examination. In reality, it was a fork in the road of life. One path led to the upper class, the other to the lower class. She had already stepped foot into the upper class, while Yang was destined to live in the lower class all his life. Zhou Xuemei foresaw her bright future. Just when she was about to ridicule Yang some more, she saw the principal coming their way with a teacher. She achieved an outstanding result, placing 8th. Could it be that the principal came to personally congratulate her? Upon this thought, Zhou Xuemei's smugness intensified. She cast a sidelong glance at Yang, gave a refined smile, and turned to greet the principal. Hello Principal Zhao, I am Zhou Xuemei. Principal Zhao was not in the mood to deal with Zhou Xuemei for the moment. He just gave a cursory nod and went straight to Yang saying, Yang, congratulations on achieving first place in this transfer student examination. This is your homeroom teacher, Mr. Su Yang. Upon hearing this, the smile on Zhou Xuemei's face froze. She had just mocked Yang for possibly sharing the same name with a top student. Unexpectedly, reality just delivered her a resounding slap in the face. How could this be possible? How could Yang be the top student? She took the exam so seriously and still only came in 8th, while Yang had been sleeping during the exam. Did Principal Zhao mistake someone else for Yang? Or did Yang cheat? Principal Zhao, you must have mistaken someone else for Yang. It's impossible that Yang could be top. Principal Zhao was quite happy now, and didn't notice the malice in Zhou Xuemei's assertion. He smiled and said, No mistake, the first place is indeed this Yang. Zhou Xuemei retorted, Principal Zhao, then Yang must have cheated. What did she mean by cheating? Principal Zhao didn't like this remark. The transfer students' exam papers were personally printed by him, the grade leader, and 3 other excellent teachers. The questions were selected by them personally, and definitely nobody else knew about it. During the exam, each class was supervised by 6 teachers, with an additional few patrolling outside. There was no chance for the students to cheat. Before Zhao could say anything, Teacher Su indignantly reprimanded, Zhou Xuemei, this is a character insult to Yang and to all the teachers at our school. Yang did indeed rank first, so I wonder, whose work could she have copied? Apologize to Yang immediately. Upon hearing this, Zhou Xuemei's face turned pale instantly. She had indeed spoken out of turn. Yang was first. Who else's work could she possibly have copied? Moreover, her words questioned not only Yang but also offended all the teachers at 3rd middle school. After all, the fact that cheating exists in an exam indicates negligence from teachers. If the exam questions were leaked, that would indicate a lack of professional ethics. The teachers at 3rd middle school are notoriously strict. How could they possibly commit such acts that betray the public's trust? The gazes of those around subtly shifted. They, too, had initially questioned if Yang cheated. But after hearing teachers' words, they instantly came to a sudden realization. Zhou Xuemei bit her lip, seemingly incapable of uttering the 3 words, I'm sorry. She didn't want to apologize to Yang. She especially didn't want to apologize to a sole proprietor. Why should a sole proprietor earn the first place in a transfer student exam? This was utterly unbearable. Yang slightly smiled and said to Zhou Xuemei, If you really don't want to apologize, then I won't force it. After all, you've been busy being jealous and accusing others. Slandering people has become your habit. How could I possibly try to correct it? Yang's retorted Zhou Xuemei's mockery, tactfully giving it back to her. Though not a single harsh word was uttered, each and every one sliced to the quick. Zhou Zuimai's face turned exceedingly unsightly. In front of the principal and so many students, she lost face completely. Chapter 407. Better looking than a fairy, the mother-daughter duo who act _5. As she finished speaking, Anai Yang turned to greet Principal Zhao and Teacher Su politely. Both Principal Zhao and Teacher Su nodded with satisfaction. This girl in front of them was not arrogant or impulsive. She was courteous, kind-hearted yet still sharp-edged. She wouldn't let people oppress her. Indeed, she was a well-rounded good kid. Teacher Su then said, Anai Yang will take you to our class. Anai Yang was now a member of their class. What an honor it was to be part of them. All right. Anai Yang nodded. Thank you, Teacher Su. Not everyone gets a one-on-one chance to be taken to class by a teacher. The rest had been allocated to different classes based on their test scores. They had to find their classrooms by themselves. Anai Yang was an exception. After greeting Han Xiaoyu, Anai Yang followed Teacher Su towards the direction of the classroom. The class that Anai Yang was in now was Class 5. Class 5 had a total of 66 students. The whole room was incredibly crowded. In front of every desk, there was a tall stack of books. The most eye-catching was the Huanggang exam paper. At this time, Huanggang exam papers were popular nationwide, comparable to the 5 years college entrance exam, 3 years simulation in the future. Everyone quiet down. Teacher Huang stepped onto the podium, tapping the ruler. The room instantly fell quiet, everyone turning to look at the podium. Today, I want to introduce someone important to you. In the following time, she will advance and retreat with you and take the college entrance examination together. She is Anai Yang, who ranked first in our midterm exams. Anai Yang, please come in. Teacher Su looked towards the door. As he finished speaking, the faces of everyone in the class brightened up, and murmurs began to fill the room. The first place too. That's amazing. Not only did she score an impressive 645 points, but she also got a perfect score in English. Her academic performance was so good. Wonder what she looks like in real life. Would she be very ugly? Under the expectant gaze of the crowd, Anai Yang walked in and gracefully stood on the podium. Hello everyone, I'm Anai Yang, and I as the single person slang. And Yang is from the phrase, the sun on the blue field warms the jade and creates smoke. As she finished speaking, she picked up a piece of chalk from the podium and wrote 2 large characters on the blackboard. The handwritten words were beautiful, elegant yet casual, even better than the teacher's handwriting. Indeed, her handwriting was just like her. Murmurs of admiration came from the crowd. My gosh, the new girl is too beautiful. Just like a fairy from heaven. Even prettier than Changyu. Can Changyu compare with the celestial fairy? The celestial fairy was imagined by everyone, but Anai Yang really existed in reality. Everyone not only could see her, but also become her classmates. The impact was completely different. As one of the main characters, Changyu, felt upset after hearing that. You guys sound as if you've really seen a fairy. Before Anai Yang's arrival, she was the class flower of Class 5. Once Anai Yang was there, she instantly became an ordinary girl. How could she be happy about that? Moreover, Changyu didn't think Anai Yang was much prettier than herself. Changyu, are you feeling sour? Changyu closed her Chinese book and turned to look at the boy speaking. You think you've seen a fairy before? I haven't seen a fairy, but I know the new girl is much prettier than you. Changyu sneered. What's the use of being pretty? I heard she's just a peddler. After she goes to university, she'll be a university student. Before Zhu Yuanzong became an emperor, he was just a beggar. What's the use of being a university student? She could even become a billion-dollar heiress in the future. At that time, she would make everyone regret their actions today. Changyu quietly clenched her fist. After a brief introduction, Anai Yang followed Teacher Su to his office. Teacher Su, I want to discuss something with you. Go ahead. Teacher Su really liked this student. As long as Anai Yang's request was not too excessive, he would agree. Anai Yang continued. Can I come to school only for exams in the future? I'd like to arrange my own time for the rest of the days. Ah, why? Teacher Su was somewhat surprised. Anai Yang said, Rest assured, Teacher Su, I will study diligently at home. If I don't do well in a test, I will immediately return to school. Yang's business couldn't afford a moment's neglect now, and she also planned to expand her business. If she wasted a whole year, she would miss many opportunities. Teacher Su hesitated a bit. That doesn't comply with the school rules. It didn't make sense for the student not to attend school. What if her performance drops? Chapter 408. Better looking than a fairy, the mother-daughter duo who act _6. Yang smiled and said, rules are inflexible, but people are adaptable. I promise I won't let my grades drop. After much persuasion, Teacher Su finally agreed. However, Teacher Su made Yang sign a pledge, stating that if her grades dropped, she would have to return to school immediately. Walking out of the office, Yang felt light on her feet, as if she had shed a heavy load from her shoulders. She was beautiful, and she quickly caused a sensation on the campus. That's Yang. Is it the Yang who came in first? Yes. It's her. My God. She's both talented and beautiful. Li Wei stood in the crowd, listening to the murmurs around him, and looked towards Yang. She was walking under a row of camphor trees, her silhouette as elegant as a fairy untouched by the mundane world. She came in first. Yang scored 645 points in the exam. Li Wei came third in his class in the last monthly exam, scoring only 588 points. Yang was a full 57 points ahead of him. It's as if she has already set foot in a top-tier university. Even prestigious overseas universities would invite Yang. Li Wei couldn't describe what he was feeling. He just felt extremely uncomfortable. Why hadn't Yang failed in her exam? If Yang had failed, he could have comforted her, but now he didn't even have the confidence to strike up a conversation. Li Wei glanced at Yang, and then turned in the opposite direction. From now on he must study harder, hoping to achieve excellent results in the college entrance exam, and become the top scholar in the city. He must be stronger than Yang. Since their last meeting, persuaded by Shangguan Shi, Shangguan Dahui decided to spend some time getting to know Lin Feng. The two people arranged through the introducer to meet at a cafe tomorrow at 10 in the morning. After listening to the introducer, Lin Feng was overwhelmed with joy. Although she already knew that Shangguan Dahui had a good impression of her, she couldn't help being excited after hearing the definite answer from the introducer. That's the Shangguan family. The real wealthy family. After sending the introducer away, Lin looked at Changyu. Xiaoya, what do you think your mother should wear tomorrow? Changyu was also happy about this. Mom, it's your first date with Uncle Shangguan. It's better to dress dignified and restrained. How about this? I'll go with you to select a dress at the mall. Sounds good. Lin Feng nodded. Mother and daughter ignored the cry of hunger from the storeroom, directly walked out of the house, and went to the department store to buy clothes. Eventually, Lin Feng bought a wine-red dress and a pair of high heels. It cost her 68 yuan, which was equivalent to her 2 months' salary. She felt heartache when paying, but thinking that she was about to become a wealthy lady, she didn't feel anything anymore. You can't make an omelette without breaking eggs. As long as she could marry into a wealthy family, not to mention 68 yuan, even if it was 680 yuan, she would be willing to spend it. After buying the clothes, the mother and daughter happily left the department store. Just as they left the front door of the mall, Lin Feng was bumped into by a raggedly dressed child. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. The child immediately apologized. You're disgusting. Stay away from me. Lin Feng pushed the child to the ground. Mom. Changyu pulled at Lin Feng's sleeve and signaled her to look ahead with her eyes. Looking around, she saw Shangguan Shi and Shangguan Dahui approaching them, arm in arm. It looked like they hadn't seen what happened just now. Lin Feng's face changed and she quickly helped the child up and said warmly, Are you okay, dear? It's all my fault. I wasn't careful. To prevent the child from crying, Lin Feng took out a yuan and slipped it into the child's pocket, warning in a low voice, Cooperate with me and this yuan is yours. The child felt the coin in his pocket and nodded. Then Lin Feng said, What's your name, dear? How old are you? Why are you here alone? Where are your parents? I'm Fua, 5 years old. I came out to play by myself, and my daddy is at home. They were almost out of rice at home, and Fua was trying to find something edible in the garbage bins. Those who come to the mall to shop are wealthy people, and the food they can't finish will be thrown into the garbage bin. Fua had found a lot of delicious food in the garbage bin before. Fua, what a nice name. Lin Fong continued. Your clothes are all torn. Would you like Auntie to buy you a new dress? Fua was considerate and said, Thank you, Auntie, my clothes are torn, but they still can be worn. Chang Yu laughed and said, Fua, you don't have to be polite with my mom. She is a very kind-hearted person. If she doesn't buy you a dress, she won't be able to sleep tonight. Lin Fong led Fua by the hand into the market. Come on, Auntie will buy you new clothes. After Lin Fong and Chang Yu left, Shang Guanxi and Shang Guandehui came out from the corner. Shang Guanxi said, Dad, you see Lin Auntie is a nice person, right? Shang Guandehui nodded. She seems to be a good person, but I don't know whether she put on this performance on purpose for us to see. I always feel that her daughter Chang Yu seem to have noticed us. Shang Guanxi laughed and said, Dad, you're overthinking. Lin Auntie is really a good person. How could she put on a show for you? Shang Guandehui continued, Maybe I'm overthinking. Shang Guanxi held Shang Guandehui's arm. Dad, tomorrow is your first date with Lin Auntie. You need to behave well. Shall I take you to the salon to get your hair done? All right. Shang Guandehui nodded. The father and daughter head towards the salon nearby. When the father and daughter had entered the salon, Lin Fong and Chang Yu came out of the back door of the mall with Fua. Lin Fong disgustedly let go of Fua's hand. Get lost. Don't let me see you again. You bring me bad luck. Fua was still in the same ragged clothes, tightly clenching the yuan in his pocket, and ran away quickly. At that time, rice was sold at 2 cents per pound. With 1 yuan, you could buy 5 pounds of rice, which would feed him and his father for more than 10 days if there are only porridge. After buying 5 pounds of rice, Fua went to the vegetable market to pick up discarded vegetable leaves. Soon, Fua had collected half a bag of vegetable leaves. Looking at these vegetable leaves, Fua revealed a satisfied smile. He was fortunate today as he hadn't run into the grandma, who usually picks up vegetable leaves too. Having so many leaves, adding to the porridge could last them half a month. Feeling more and more cheerful, Fua couldn't help taking out a candy from his pocket to reward himself. Chapter 409, Corporate Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _1 After coming out of school, Anna Yang went to the flower and bird market. It's Tuesday today, and not many people are at the flower and bird market. This is the largest flower and bird market in Beijing, covering over 1,000 square meters with rows of stalls held up by plastic canopies. Anna Yang approached a green plant stall, picked up a piece of water lily rhizome, and asked, How much is this water lily, boss? The rhizomes of water lilies are different from those of lotus. The rhizome of a lotus is edible lotus root, but the rhizome of a water lily is a tuber, much like a knotted lump of wood. The water lilies are 5 cents each, the boss replied. Anna Yang continued, It'll take 10 and 12 goldfish. Seeing Anna Yang buying so much, the green plant boss instantly became more enthusiastic. Okay, young lady, I'll pack these up for you. Do you want anything else in addition to these? How much is this mina? Anna Yang noticed a bird cage hanging from the top of the canopy. Inside were 2 vivacious minas. Minas are very perceptive birds. Not only can they imitate the calls of other birds, they can also mimic simple human language. Moreover, minas can recognize their home and owner. Just like dogs, they're very loyal. The green plant boss continued. If you really want to buy a mina, I have a young one at home. You can't really take care of the adult ones like these. Can't really take care of is a colloquial term, meaning it can't be fed until it becomes familiar. Young lady, wait a moment for me. I'll fetch the young bird from inside for you to see. The green plant boss turned and went back inside. When he came back out, he was carrying a bird's nest with a young bird inside whose feathers haven't fully grown. The young bird looked a bit ugly, opening its mouth at the sight of people as if wanting to eat. The green plant boss picked up an insect from the side and fed it to the young bird's mouth. See, this kind of young bird is easy to feed. Speaking of minas, It's indeed better to start feeding them from when they are young. And I Young went on. How much is this young bird? This one is 5 yuan each. I'll throw in the nest for free. 5 yuan? At this time, a laborer's day wage is just 1 yuan. Does the boss really think she's a fool? And I Young didn't say much and simply replied, I will take it for 1 yuan. The green plant boss laughed. Young lady, don't joke with me. I won't even be able to cover the cost if it's 1 yuan. And I Young said, then forget it, I'll go look at other places. With that, and I Young turned and walked away. The green plant boss had seen this tactic many times. He didn't believe an I Young would really leave. He had been in business for many years, and could tell at a glance that an I Young liked the young bird. He believed that an I Young would come back in about 5 minutes. It was precisely because he was sure that an I Young liked this young bird so much that the green plant boss deliberately marked up the price. The green plant boss leisurely lit his air-cured tobacco, lay down in his deck chair waiting for an I Young to return. About 10 minutes later, the green plant boss saw an I Young's figure again. The green plant boss immediately brightened up, sitting up from the deck chair. Just as he was about to tease an I Young, he saw the water lily rhizomes and bird cage in her hands, and his smile froze on his face. Bought it already? Didn't an I Young really like that young bird just now? How did she buy from other shops so quickly? The green plant boss felt bitter in his heart for a moment. He wished he could turn back time and sell it to an I Young for 1 yuan. If he had sold it for 1 yuan, he could have at least earned 50 cents. With the water lilies and goldfish, he could have made around 1 yuan from this deal. Now, not only did he not make a single cent, but he was also left irritated. When an I Young got home, she first settled the young Mina's nest on the osmanthus tree in the yard, and then fed it a few worms. Then she took a pail and a shovel, ready to dig some river mud to plant the water lilies. It was early summer, the river was not very deep, so an I Young easily dug up a large pail of river mud. Besides the river mud, an I Young also picked a large rock, which can be placed in the pond for decoration. Sister an I Young will help you. A few children ran over from a distance. One of them took the rock, and 2 others helped lift the pail. Xiaohua, Peng Huguochang, thank you. The 3 boys laughed and said, Sister an I Young, no need to be polite. An I Young is now the most popular person among this group of children. She is pretty, and her speaking voice is pleasant. All the children like her a lot. Chapter 410, Business Development and Culture. Fuwa is the son of Li Xianxian. _ As soon as they arrived at the Ni family's courtyard, the children dropped everything and bolted. They did this because Ni Young was just too warm-hearted. If they didn't run away quickly, Ni Young would definitely give them more candies and snacks. The kids weren't helping Sister Ni Young just for food. Though they were young, they were sensible. Looking at the children scampering away, a faint smile floated on Ni Yang's face, and the sunlight shining through the leaves dappled her with a halo. If the scene had to be described in 2 phrases, they would be: the time is peaceful, life is stable. Having brought the buckets and stones into the yard, Ni Young began planting her water lilies. She poured river mud into the pond, burrowed the roots of the lilies into the muck, then filled it with water, and set the goldfish in. The goldfish proved resilient. They swam happily through the pond as soon as they were put in. The pond's drainage and waste system were designed exceptionally. There was no need to worry about foul-smelling water. Now all that was left was to wait for the lily pads to sprout. 6th sister-in-law. Wu Daming's voice called from outside. It's here. Ni Young rolled up her sleeve and walked outside. 6th sister-in-law. Wu Daming hopped off the farm vehicle. I have delivered the sterilizer and the other machines. Which room do you want me to move them into? Ni Young smiled and replied, move them to the new house. While building the new house, Ni Young designed 3 additional small bungalows behind it for a sterile room to make skincare products. If she was planning to expand her skincare product business, she must make it official so that her competitors would have no grounds for criticism. The market was a battlefield, and with the experience from her past life, Ni Young would not let down her guard. All right. Wu Daming turned to look at the agricultural vehicle. You guys come down. 3 more people hopped off the farm vehicle. Now with Wu Daming, 4 people in total helped carry the machines into the house. The walls inside the bungalow were lime-washed, and the floors were laid with tiles of the same color. The inside looked clean and tidy. There were a total of 3 sterilizers, one for each room. In addition to the sterilizers, Young had also requested 6 cream-making and mixing machines. Wu Daming was a very responsible person. Once he had placed the machines and made sure they were powered correctly, he said goodbye to Young. Wu Daming, wait a moment. Young called to him as he was about to leave. Sixth sister-in-law, is there anything else you need? Wu Daming curiously asked. Young said, you forgot to collect the money. How much for the machines? Wu Daming had not expected Young to be willing to pay. After all, she was now officially with Mo Qishan. A normal person would take advantage of a little favor if they could. However, it seemed Young had no intention of taking advantage of him. Wu Daming hesitated for a moment, then said, Sixth sister-in-law, wait a moment. I'll check the account book in the car. Okay. Young nodded. After a short while, Wu Daming returned inside and said, Sixth sister-in-law, the machines net to a total of 60,000 yuan. Though 60,000 yuan was no small sum, it was a fair price for all these imported machines. Transportation was not well developed at that time, and sometimes it took a lot of effort and connections just to buy the things one wanted. Young then said, I don't have that much cash on hand right now. You give me an account number, and they'll do a bank transfer for you tomorrow. All right. Wu Daming nodded, took a piece of paper from his pocket, and wrote down an account number for Young. Young slips the note into her pocket. The latest I'll wire you is tomorrow afternoon. Wu Daming chuckled, then said, I'm not in a hurry for the money. Wire it over whenever it is convenient for you. If there's nothing else, I'll leave now. Hold on a moment. Young went back into the house. Wu Daming did as told and waited. Shortly after, Young came out with a bag. She took out 4 small packages and handed them to Wu Daming and the workers behind him. These are the sweets we bought for the housewarming a few days ago. It's a small token of my appreciation. Wu Daming gratefully accepted them and said, You are too kind, sixth sister-in-law. It's just a bag of candies. Wu Daming turned to the 3 workers behind him and said, Why don't you thank sixth sister-in-law? Thank you, sixth sister-in-law. The 3 men voiced their thanks in unison. Chapter 411. Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _3. Sister Li, we'll be heading back now. All right. Take care on the way, and be safe. Yang escorted the 4 of them out. Upon getting into the car, one of the workers opened the bag of candy given by Yang and exclaimed in surprise, Wow! Sister Li is so generous. There's not just candy in here, but cigarettes too. Cigarettes? The others, upon hearing this, immediately perked up. They quickly opened their bags to discover that besides candy, there was indeed a pack of cigarettes. Another worker exclaimed, There's a red envelope. Do any of you have a red envelope? Seriously, there's a red envelope? Wu Daming, who was driving, asked in disbelief. Yes, there's a red envelope, the worker replied while opening it. I just don't know if it's empty. One worker who had already opened theirs, joyfully declared, It's not empty, there's money in it. I have 18 yuan here. Check how much you guys have. I also have 18 yuan. Me too. Wu Daming pulled the car over to the side of the road and opened his own bag of candy to check. Heavens! Inside, there indeed was a red envelope and cigarettes. Yang was incredibly sensible. It wasn't surprising she could manage business so well. Yang, who was here? Cuehua walked in from next door the moment Wu Daming had left. Although the new house was already built, it hadn't been finally decorated yet, so they were still temporarily living with Chengui. It was Wu Daming. Yang explained, Mom, Wu Daming sent over the machines for producing skincare products. Next month, the second Ice Touch Jade Skin physical store will open. We can think about hiring a few people to manage the skincare products. Although Ice Touch Jade Skin only had one physical store, they were overwhelmed with orders, needing temporary workers for at least 15 days of the month. Once the branch store opened next month, they'd undoubtedly be even busier. Plus, and Young was planning to introduce a new product, face masks. Yang Shulin had already sent over the mask samples last month. With Yang's confirmation that there were no issues, the mask sheets would arrive in bulk at the end of the month. Tsuehua nodded. Yang, how many people do you think we should hire? Yang thought for a moment. Let's start with 5. Alright, I'll mention it in the village tomorrow. Is the wage still 35 yuan? Let's set the wage at 40 yuan. Yang continued. Next month, I'll also raise Aunt Zhou and Aunt Wang's wages to 40 yuan. Yang was a good boss. If she could afford meat, she wouldn't let her employees have thin gruel. Every employee's support and hard work is crucial to a company's success. If the employees don't love their job, it's only a matter of time before the company goes under. What makes employees love their job? Besides a good company culture, a good salary is crucial. All people are the same. No one works for love for no reason. Yang, having started from the bottom, understood worker psychology well. Consider a simple example. 2 best friends held the same job, but they worked at different companies. If the salary of one was a third higher than the other, one wouldn't need to guess what would happen. The one earning less would attempt to switch to the other company, while the other would stay put, work hard, and not give anyone a chance to poach her. A company that makes its employees want to quit is not a good company. Tsuehua never interfered in Yang's business matters. She simply nodded her head and repeated, Alright, I'll bring it up in the village tomorrow. By the way, Mom, how much aloe vera and portulaca have we harvested lately? Yang asked. Tsuehua replied, All the aloe vera and portulaca we've harvested recently have been used to make skincare products. We have no inventory left. Ice Touch Jade Skin, due to its effectiveness, had become popular all over Beijing. People from nearby cities had even heard of it and came to buy it. The number of employees at the Ice Touch Jade Skin physical store had increased from the initial 4 to 6. No inventory left? Yang frowned slightly. What about the roses? Tsuehua replied, We've harvested around 50 gene of roses. They've all been made into pure rose dew and rose essential oil. After distilling rose petals, 2 products can be extracted. One is rose essential oil, and the other is pure rose dew. Approximately 0.0025 g of rose dew and 0.0002 g of essential oil can be made from a single gene of rose petals. Chapter 412. Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _4. Therefore, rose essential oil is the most expensive essential oil in the world, also known as the queen of essential oils. Rose essential oil can balance female hormonal imbalances, nourish relieve menstrual pain, improve menopausal discomfort, and has good effects on skincare, such as whitening and nourishing the face, promoting the breakdown of melanin, calming, reducing stress, and promoting sleep. Whether it is sold individually or added to skincare products, rose essential oil has a very good effect. Meanwhile, rose hydrosol can be used to make face masks. Yang calculated in her mind, then said, 50 kilograms of roses can only produce 0.125 g of hydrosol and 0.001 g of essential oil, which is far from enough. Mom, tell everyone tomorrow not to grow early rice or late rice today, but instead grow roses, aloe vera, and portulaca. No matter how much they grow, I will buy it all. The villagers of Jinghua village are generally kind-hearted. They worry that buying too many aloes and roses will leave Yang with a loss. Although growing flowers and aloe vera makes much more money than growing rice, each household only grows a small amount of them, primarily focusing on growing rice. After thinking about it, Yang continued, If no one believes me, tell them that if they want grow these plants, then I can only buy them from other villages. In fact, collecting these goods outside is very simple. The price given by Yang is so high that as long as she opens her mouth, people will deliver goods to her doorstep. The reason why Yang chose to purchase within Jinghua village is because she wants to lead everyone to prosperity. First small money, then big money. Okay, Mom understands. Tsuehua replied. The next day, when Tsuehua mentioned this matter under the big pagoda tree in the village center, everyone looked surprised. Yang Yang's mom, are you serious? You're not joking with us? According to what Inai Yang said before, aloe 1 cent per kilogram, portulaca 1 cent per kilogram, rose 2 cents per kilogram. If they planted these crops on all their land, they would earn at least 1 to 2,000 yuan a year. What does earning 1 or 2,000 yuan a year mean? You have to know, at this time the monthly rent is only about 10 yuan. Ordinary farmers can earn at most 1 or 200 yuan a year by farming. This is no different from getting rich overnight. Inai Tsuehua said very seriously. What's there to joke about such a thing? This is exactly what Yang Yang said, and she also said that if you all don't grow these crops, she can only go to other villages to buy them. How can they let other villages take advantage of such a good opportunity? Plant. We will plant when we go back. Our family was planning to sow rice seedlings tomorrow. Since you said so, Yang Yang's mom, I will plant aloe vera when I go back. Then my family will grow more roses and portulaca. Yang Yang really is our village's lucky star. Ever since she came to the village, our lives have been getting better and better, and we have more hope for the future. Yang Yang's mom, you must have earned a lot of good karma in your previous life to have such a good daughter like Yang Yang in this life. Hearing the praises for Inai Yang, Inai Tsuehua, as a mother, was also happy. Inai Yang is now handling the remittance procedure for Wu Daming in the bank. This era is different from future ones. In the future, remittances can be handled in 3 seconds by just transferring an account on your mobile phone. But in this era, you need to personally go to the bank counter to handle it, and compare various pieces of information. It can't be done without 2 hours. Inai Yang had been sitting at the counter for more than an hour, and only half of the procedures had been completed. Inai Yang couldn't leave and couldn't do anything else while sitting here. So she bowed her head and wrote a corporate planning book on the counter. When her information is needed for verification, the bank teller can just call her. Miss Inai. The teller's voice echoed in the air again. Inai Yang looked up and saw a handsome face. This is Shangguan Su. Where did the female teller just go? Shangguan Su seemed to see Inai Yang's confusion, smiled and explained. My colleague needed to go out for a while, so she asked me to cover for her on the counter. Inai Yang nodded. Mr. Shangguan is a good leader. It is not easy for a bank president to do this. Shangguan Su modestly said. I'm just a nominal leader. By the way, is the recipient called Wu Daming? Is the residential address at 399, Shihai Road? Yes. Direct remittance of 60,000 yuan? Shangguan Su asked again. Yes. Inai Yang nodded. Chapter 413. Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _5. There are 2 remittance forms in total. Do you need a copy of the form mailed to the recipient? Inai Yang replied. Send it over. After all, 60,000 yuan wasn't a small amount, and without a mobile phone to receive payment information in those days. Okay. Shangguan Su gave Inai the remittance form. Sign here. Inai Yang took up the pen and swiftly signed her name. Her signature retained the style from her previous life, with a hint of cursive script, but she wouldn't make it difficult for people to recognize. Shangguan Su took the signed remittance form, and a look of admiration appeared in his eyes. The handwriting was simply too beautiful. It didn't seem like it came from the hand of a girl. Instead, it seemed like it was written by a boy, exuding an air of grandeur. During those days, women received a lower level of education on average. Most people who came to the bank would choose to use a thumbprint for identification, and some people's handwriting was crooked even when they wrote their own names. People like Inai Yang were really too rare. No doubt, Inai Yang really surprised him. Shangguan Su tore off the duplicated remittance form and handed it to Inai Yang. Miss Inai, the money has been remitted. The recipient will receive it within 2 working days. We will be mailing the other copy of the remittance form later this evening. Okay, thank you. Inai Yang expressed her gratitude politely. Shangguan Su gave a light smile. You're welcome, it's what we should be doing. After Inai Yang left, the staff whispered amongst themselves. Do you think our bank manager has taken a shine to Miss Inai? Falling for Miss Inai isn't surprising at all. She's so beautiful and so rich. What exactly does Miss Inai do? How is she so rich? Miss N.I. is the owner of New York milk tea shop and sour fish noodle restaurant. Really? Of course it's true. Last time I went to buy milk tea, I saw Miss N.I. helping out in the milk tea shop with my own eyes. A tall, attractive female employee came over, laughing and saying, "Our bank manager is from a wealthy family, a true blue blood. It wouldn't be possible for a sole proprietor like her to reach his level, right?" Indeed. How could they forget that, no matter how rich or beautiful N.I. Yang was, she was ultimately just a sole proprietor. N.I. Yang parked her bicycle in front of a traditional Chinese medicine store. The moment she entered the main entrance of the medicine store, she saw the boss grabbing a child by the ear and cursing as he came out. "Little beast. A bastard born without a mother. You dare to steal from me. If it happens again, I'll teach you what 8-2 tastes like." The phrase 8-2 was a popular euphemism for being put in jail during that time. The child immediately knelt on the ground, holding onto the boss' leg and pleaded, "Please help my dad, boss. He's really ill. I only have one father. He cannot die, please. I'm bowing to you. As long as you agree to save my father, I can be your servant." If his father weren't so sick, he wouldn't have risked stealing the medicine. "Get lost. Get out of here. I'm not a charity. People die every day in this world. If I were to save everyone, could I handle it?" The store owner kicked the boy away. His words were realistic, but also cruel. N.I. Yang went over and helped the child up. "Are you all right?" Upon looking, N.I. Yang was taken aback. Wasn't this the young boy Fua she met last time? Fua. Fua recognized the lady who had given him candy that day. "Sister." "Fua, what happened to you?" Fua, holding back tears, said, "Sister, my dad is very sick. Can you save him? Please." The compassionate nature of a doctor would not allow N.I. Yang to ignore such a plea. "Where do you live? Take me to see your father." Upon hearing this, Fua, seeing the last glimmer of hope, his downcast eyes suddenly filled up with hope. "Sister, my home is at 15 Walt Road." N.I. Yang followed by asking, "Can you tell me what condition your father is in now?" Although Fua was young, he was able to describe his father's condition simply. N.I. Yang preliminarily discerned that it was an infection caused by a leg injury. She entered the medicine store to buy some emergency aid medicine, then rode her bike together with Fua back to his home. It was still the same crowded courtyard. Chapter 414. Business Development and Culture. Fua is the son of Li Xianxian. _6. There were several children playing with mud in the courtyard. They wanted to tease Fua when they saw him approaching but stopped at the sight of N.I. Yang, who was walking beside him. Children are often afraid of strangers after all. "Sister, my dad stays here." Fua pushed open the room door. The room was dimly lit, and one could scarcely see a person lying on the bed. Fua swiftly got up with a stool and opened the window. N.I. Yang walked to the bedside, seemed to tug at the man's eyelids a little, then sat down to take his pulse. The room was dirty and messy, and it was filled with an unpleasant smell. But N.I. Yang didn't seem to mind. Looking at N.I. Yang, Fua's voice trembled a bit as he asked, "Sister, can my dad still be saved? His father has been running a high fever since midnight yesterday, and hadn't had anything to eat or drink since. Your father will be fine, don't worry." N.I. Yang's voice was soft and gentle, carrying a calming influence like a spring breeze in April. Feeling reassured, Fua asked, "Really?" N.I. Yang nodded, "Absolutely." The man was not severely injured. His legs were initially paralyzed from a fracture, but this condition became progressively worse due to lack of prompt treatment, and eventually led to a coma. Another reason was the environment. Living conditions here were very poor. The bedding was moldy and the furniture was covered with dust. Such conditions were conducive to bacterial growth. N.I. Yang gave the man a pill to reduce his fever and inflammation, then said, "Fua, can you wait for me here? I'm going out for a while." "Okay," Fua nodded. About half an hour later, N.I. Yang returned with a brand new bedsheet and a bag of herbal medicine. 5 minutes later, 2 middle-aged women arrived as well. The sudden arrival of strangers made Fua a bit nervous. N.I. Yang explained, "Don't be scared, Fua. These 2 aunties are here to help clean up." The 2 women were diligent. After greeting N.I. Yang, they began to clean. And I Young then asked, Fua, could you heat a bath for me? Sure, Fua nodded. I'm on it. Helping out made Fua very happy. Shortly after, Fua came back in and said, Sister, your bath water is ready. And I Young removed a bag of herbal medicine and handed it to Fua. Fua, pour this bag of herbal medicine into the bath. All right, Fua took it. After a while, 2 robust men came in from outside. Is Comrade and I Young here? I'm here. And I Young, who was giving the man an injection, responded. The 2 robust men walked into the room hesitating. Comrade and I Young, are we to bathe this fellow? And I Young nodded. Yes. The men looked a bit uneasy. The man on the bed was just too dirty. No words were more apt than dirty and stinky to describe the situation. And I Young followed up. Don't worry, you two. I'll pay double. The man was indeed very dirty, and if they didn't give him a good bath, it would affect his recovery from the illness. Once An I Young decided to lend a hand, she would follow it through to the end. Upon hearing her words, the men immediately replied, Comrade An I Young, rest assured, leave it to us. Double pay. Only a fool would refuse such an offer. Smiling, An I Young thanked them. I appreciate your help. The 2 men lifted the man on the bed. May I know where the bathing place is? It's over here, please follow me, uncles, Fua immediately responded. Fua was not stupid, he of course knew that Sister An I Young was helping them. The 2 rugged men carried the man to take a bath while An I Young helped to tidy up the room. In no time, the room was renovated. An I Young picked up a few magnolia flowers from outside and put them by the windowsill, filling the air with a gentle fragrance. An I Young settled the pay for the 2 middle-aged women. Both of them earned 2 yuan in total. They only worked for 2 hours. Considering the price level of this era, they profited quite a bit. When the 2 workers finished bathing, An I Young also paid them 1 yuan each. Thank you, young comrade. Please think of us if you need anything done in the future, they said. An I Young nodded, certainly. After bathing, the man laid on the fresh bedding. Fua asked, Sister, when is my dad going to wake up? An I Young put her hand on the man's wrist and said, Don't be anxious, Fua. Just wait a bit more. Okay. Fua nodded. An I Young found 4 wooden sticks and gauze to fix the man's legs in place. Sister, can my dad stand up again? Yes. Hearing this, Fua excitedly asked, Sister, really? My dad can really stand up? Of course. An I Young reassured him with a gentle nod. Thank you, sister. You're welcome. An I Young patted Fua's head. Wait a minute, sister. Fua ran into the kitchen and picked out a shriveled, rotting apple from the cupboard. He had found this apple in the trash and had kept it, planning to give it to his dad for nourishment. He hadn't expected his dad to fall into a high fever that very afternoon. Now that his sister had saved his father, he thought the apple should be given to her. Fua tiptoed and carefully picked up the apple, peeled it with a kitchen knife, scooped out the rotten parts and then carried the apple back to the room. Fua ate all the peeled apple skin without wasting any. Sister, this apple is for you to eat. Fua looked expectantly at An I Young. Thank you. An I Young accepted it and took a bite. The apple was already rotting and it did not taste very good. But for An I Young, all food was equal, and she did not want to disappoint Fua, so she finished the whole apple. At that moment, the man on the bed began to stir. Dad. Fua excitedly ran over. Fua. The man patted Fua's head, then turned and looked at An I Young with pale face. Thank you for saving our lives. You are like our second parents. Despite being faint, he was still slightly conscious and knew that An I Young had saved him. You're welcome, it's just what a doctor should do, An I Young then asked. How are you feeling now? Is your head still dizzy? Do your legs hurt? The man responded, My head is not dizzy, but my legs seem to hurt a bit. An I Young told him, Pain in the leg is a normal reaction. As long as you're not dizzy, then it's okay. The facilities are limited here, so I just gave you a simple fixation. Your injury is not very severe, so you should be fine after a few days of taking medicine. The man choked with emotion. He didn't know what to say. His voice husky, he said, My benefactor, my name is Zhou Tianbao, and this is my son Zhou Fua. Once we get back on our feet, we will find a way to repay you. Zhou Tianbao? And Yang slightly raised her eyebrows. If she remembered correctly, the man who fathered Li Xiangxian's illegitimate child had the same name. Was it the same person? Chapter 415. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _1 and Yang continued. May I ask, where is Fua's mother? Hearing these words, Zhou Tianbao's expression darkened for a moment, before he responded, she's gone. Despite public claims that Fua's mother had died, Zhou Tianbao did not want to lie in front of Yang. Haven't you tried searching for her? From this, Yang could preliminarily ascertain that Fua's mother was Li Xianxian. Zhou Tianbao replied. The reason we came all the way to Beijing was that we heard she was here. Yang nodded and comforted. I believe you will find Fua's mother. Zhou Tianbao sighed. Now I'm just a useless man confined to a bed. Even if we found her, what could we do? Yang smiled. Rest assured, your legs will get better. Upon hearing this, Zhou Tianbao's eyes lit up. Really? Benefactor, can I really stand again? Yes. Yang nodded confidently. I am a doctor, I don't make baseless promises. Trust me, as long as you take your medicine on time, your legs could be better in 10 days, or at most half a month. Possibly no one could comprehend what it feels like for someone who has been bedridden for a long time to hear these words. Tears streamed down Zhou Tianbao's face. Thank you, thank you. Yang laughed. Medicine is for the benefit of the people. Precision is paramount. It's a doctor's responsibility. Don't worry about it. Benefactor, you really are a good person. Zhou Tianbao choked up. Fua, you must kneel and thank our benefactor. Now that his resources were minimal, all he could do was ask Fua to kneel in gratitude. They would remember Yang's kindness forever. As Fua moved to kneel, Yang immediately stopped him. You don't have to do this. I would have helped regardless of who it was. As it was getting late, Yang explained how Fua should prepare the medicine, and what to pay attention to in his daily life, and then left their home. As Yang was leaving, he gave Fua 100 yuan. Fua and Zhou Tianbao wanted to refuse because Yang had already helped them so much. Not only did he treat him, buy them enough Chinese medicine and new bedding, but he also hired someone to bathe him, thoroughly cleaning their home. Since Zhou Tianbao had been paralyzed, he hadn't bathed. It may have just been his imagination, but after bathing he felt renewed. Yang said, Fua's dad, you should accept it. After all, you're still bedridden, expenses are unavoidable. Though 100 yuan might not be much, it can resolve half a year's worth of living expenses. Once your legs are better and you are able to earn money, you can return it to me then. Only then did Zhou Tianbao allow Fua to accept it. With this 100 yuan, added to the hope of standing again, Zhou Tianbao felt more hopeful about the future. Zhou Tianbao instructed Fua. Fua, you must remember this benefactor's grace for life. Without him, you wouldn't have a father now. Your mother may have given birth to you, but she did not raise you for even one day. She doesn't deserve to be a mother. You could be unfilial to your mother, but you can't be an ungrateful wretch. Fua nodded wisely. I know, Dad. At the Western restaurant, Shangguan Dehui arrived 20 minutes ahead of the agreed time. After all, this was his first date with Lin Fang, and arriving early was a basic show of respect to the woman. Where on earth was the rationale for letting a woman wait for a man? Time ticked by, and an hour passed, but Lin Fang was still not there. What was going on? Shangguan Dehui checked his watch, and a trace of impatience was visible in his eyes. Shangguan Dehui, a college professor, as his side gig, despised people who couldn't be punctual, because simple actions can reflect a person's character. Punctual people are meticulous, while those with poor time management are lax, self-centered, and inconsiderate of others. Just as Shangguan Dehui was about to leave the cafe, Lin Fang finally arrived late. She apologized. I'm really sorry. I was supposed to be early, but I ran into a complication on my way here, and kept you waiting. In reality, Lin Fang had purposely arrived late, wanting to test the extent of Shangguan Dehui's regard for her. It seemed that Shangguan Dehui was indeed very fond of her. After all, she was a whole 40 minutes late. If it were someone else, they would have certainly left by now. Chapter 416. A long-term cinnabar mole. The drama is really good to watch. _2. Shangguan Dehui wasn't an unreasonable man. Understanding that accidents happen, he wouldn't be unyielding. What sort of accident is it? Is everyone okay? Lin Feng replied. Everyone is fine, it's just delayed some time. I truly apologize. As long as everyone is fine. Shangguan Dehui handed the menu to Lin Feng. What do you fancy eating? Accepting the menu, Lin Feng browsed it and said, I would like a filet mignon done medium rare, and a fruit salad. I will have the same as you, said Shangguan Dehui, who was not particular about Western food, as he preferred Chinese cuisine. Lin Feng, who had done ample homework before coming and even researched on Shangguan Dehui's hobbies, thus brought up something of his interest. I don't really have any specific hobbies during my free time. Besides taking care of my plants and feeding the birds, my major interest is rock climbing. A sparkle appeared in Shangguan Dehui's eyes as he laughed. I also enjoy rock climbing. Do you prefer indoor or outdoor climbing? The most crucial thing for two people to live together is to share common interests, compatible values and ideally, same hobbies. Seeing Shangguan Dehui's reaction, Lin Feng knew her words didn't miss the mark. Both are fine for me. But outdoor climbing is more dangerous. I rarely go alone. Shangguan Dehui nodded. That's thoughtful of you. Outdoor climbing is indeed riskier. We could go together sometime. Sure, Lin Feng readily agreed. As long as you wouldn't mind me being a little clumsy. How could that be possible? Because of Lin Feng's clear attempt to concede and please, their conversation was rather smooth and pleasant. Having paid the bill, Shangguan Dehui asked, Do you mind if we pack this? Shangguan Dehui was taken aback. Lin Feng explained, We live in a place where there are many stray cats that no one wants. Seeing so much of the steak left untouched, it seems a terrible waste to just dispose of it. She was truly a kind person. Commending her inwardly, Shangguan Dehui immediately summoned the waiter to pack the leftovers. Is this enough steak? If not, I can order another serving to be packed. Lin Feng said, This is enough. If it's not, I can cook some rice back home. No need to order more. It's a bit of a waste to throw leftovers. Food does not come easy, and we should all hold a profound respect for it. Hearing her words, Shangguan Dehui gave a more approving nod. It seemed that Lin Feng was way more virtuous and good-natured beyond his imagination. Her like was hard to come by, and to meet her was indeed his fortune. People of this era were generally more innocent. Marriages were rarely practiced after a relationship of a year or two. Most people got married after a few months of knowing each other. Shangguan Dehui believed that Lin Feng was his ideal partner. At his age, Shangguan Dehui had long given up faith in love. He simply wished to find a woman who could live with him, as long as he had a companion for the future days. The waiter handed the packed steaks to Shangguan Dehui. Accepting them, Shangguan Dehui thanked him. The two of them stepped out of the restaurant together. Shangguan Dehui then said, Miss Lin, where do you live? I could drop you home. Lin Feng said, somewhat embarrassed. Wouldn't that be too much trouble? Just a simple press on the accelerator, it won't be a bother. Lin Feng nodded in agreement. Shangguan Dehui's car was an imported model, fitted with genuine leather seats. As Lin Feng sat in the passenger seat, she suppressed her inner exhilaration while discreetly observing all aspects of the car. Upon her previous research, a car like this would cost over 300,000 yuan. With her current monthly salary of 33 yuan, it would probably take her entire life to save up to that amount. Rich people were indeed rich. A simple tool for transportation was a luxury beyond reach for ordinary households. Knowing that she was soon to marry Shangguan Dehui and enjoy all of this, Lin Feng again tried to control her excitement. Noticing that Lin Feng's face was growing a little red, Shangguan Dehui asked with concern, Is the air in the car a bit stuffy? Shall I open the car window? Lin Feng nodded. It's kind of stuffy. Shangguan Dehui rolled down the car windows. The car drove along the highway and soon arrived at Lin Feng's home. As Lin Feng got out of the car, she said with restraint, My house is quite messy. I better not ask you to come in. From this, Shangguan Dehui perceived her as a reserved and conservative person who cared much about her image. He gently nodded. Then I'll be on my way. Chapter 417. Many years of red moles. The show is really good to watch. _3. Drive slowly on the road and be careful. Lin Fong instructed. I will. Shangguan Dehui nodded. After Shangguan Dehui left in his car, Lin Fong turned around and headed towards the apartment building. When she returned home, she could hear weak, desperate cries. I'm so hungry, I want to eat. I need water too. I'm thirsty. I'm dying, someone help. The old man had not eaten or drank all day. His lips were dry and cracked. How could he not be uncomfortable? Nevertheless, Lin Fong acted as if she hadn't heard any of the cries. She went straight to her room, lied down on her bed, and began to plan her lavish life of leisure. At the Shangguan's residence. As soon as Shangguan Dehui returned home, Mrs. Shangguan asked, Dehui, how did your first date go today? How do you feel about the girl? She's someone I can live with. Shangguan Dehui answered. Old Mrs. Shangguan laughed. So, you had a good impression of her? Shangguan Dehui nodded. Hearing this, Mrs. Shangguan was very pleased. Dehui, I'm relieved to see you letting go of the past and embracing new emotions. Yet, within Shangguan Dehui's heart, there was a deep, unforgettable mark. The person he couldn't forget wasn't the mother of Shangguan Su and Shangguan Shi, but a girl he had once met in the countryside when he was a young educated youth. This is what happened. One day, when Shangguan Dehui, then a young educated youth, was looking after a forest on the mountain, he accidentally fell into a trap set by hunters. A girl, around 16 or 17, who had been herding cattle had saved him. To save him, the young girl accidentally hurt her ankle. Shangguan Dehui was smitten with the girl at first sight. However, in those conservative times, they parted without even knowing each other's names. After some time, Shangguan Dehui eventually learnt the young girl's name and address, but she was nowhere to be found. She had vanished. Some people said she got married, others said she moved homes. In an age where communication was not as advanced, they lost touch from there. Later on, Shangguan Dehui started searching for her everywhere. Any whispers or rumors, reliable or not, he would chase after them, only to face disappointment every time. Eventually, Shangguan Dehui returned to the city. Unable to resist his family's pressure, he was forced to marry Su Fun, the mother of Shangguan Su and Shangguan Shi. Shangguan Dehui was responsible. Once he decided to marry Su Fun, he was determined to fulfill his responsibilities as a husband. They lived a relatively loving life. Unfortunately, Su Fun passed away due to complications during childbirth after giving birth to their twins, a boy and a girl. Since then, Shangguan Dehui remained single. Now, after 20 years, Shangguan Dehui has long forgotten what the girl looked like, having only seen her once. All he remembered was that people in the village used to call her Daya. At present, Shangguan Dehui no longer harbored any hope of finding her. After all, so many years have passed. Even if he found her, what would it change? Perhaps she's now the mother of several children. It's difficult to relive the past. Some people can only live in your heart. Thinking about the past, Shangguan Dehui's face was filled with sorrow. He turned around and went to his study on the 3rd floor, starting to practice calligraphy to calm himself. Yin was riding her bicycle in the twilight of the setting sun. The breeze blew gently, stirring her long hair into a disheveled beauty. A black jeep slowly passed her by. The man in the driver's seat glanced at her. His usually calm eyes were suddenly agitated, as if a stone had been thrown into a still lake. Ripples instantly formed. It's her again. Yin. Mo Baichuan slowly withdrew his gaze. Yin always said she isn't interested in him. If that were truly the case, would she appear before him time and again? This woman, the mask she wears is too thick. Mo Baichuan's mouth curved into a mocking smile. He turned the steering wheel and drove towards Li Xiangxian's dormitory. It was about time to give Yin a bit of a shock. Yin is someone who needs a good shaking. Mo Baichuan's hand on the steering wheel tightened unconsciously, his knuckles turning white, veins bulging. Yin didn't go home immediately. Instead, she stopped at the vegetable market to buy groceries and flour. Upon returning home, she ran into Gooden playing with little Anai-yun. Little Anai-yun was growing more noticeably each day. Only 10 days ago, he was still toddling unsurely, but now he was walking sturdily. Chapter 418. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _4. Little Anai-yun excitedly chased Gooden around the yard. Seeing Anai-yong come back, both big and small ran over to her. Sister Anai-yong. Sister. Little Anai-yun spread her arms wanting Anai-yong to hold her. Gooden sensibly said, Sister Anai-yong just got back from a bike ride and is tired. Little Yun, let me hold you, okay? Sure. Little Anai-yun nodded her head. Anai-yong chuckled as she pinched little Anai-yun's face. Little Yun, shall we say thank you to Brother Gooden? Duo. 11-month-old little Anai-yun was still a bit indistinct with her words. It's brother. Anai-yong corrected. Duo. Little Anai-yun's serious face was too cute, making you want to squeeze her cheeks. Gooden laughed, saying, Sister Anai-yong, little Yun is so silly. Anai-yong pinched little Anai-yun's nose. I think she's pretty silly too. Little Anai-yun, not even knowing the meaning of silly, started giggling happily. Sister Anai-yong. A shout came from outside the door. Gooden's eyes lit up. It's Dabeo. He grabbed little Anai-yun and ran out the door. Dabeo. Gooden. The two brothers, separated by little Anai-yun, warmly embraced. Guobao is here. Anai-yong said as she came out of the door. Young Guobao raised his face and corrected. Sister Anai-yong. How could you forget again? From now on you should call me Dabeo. Anai-yong laughed. Yes, Dabeo. You guys come in and sit. I'll get you something delicious to eat. Young Guobao and Gooden followed Anai-yong into the house. Anai-yong went to her room, opened her cabinet to find all the candy and dried fruit were finished, leaving only a handful of damp sunflower seeds. No more food. She'd been too busy with other things these past few days, and had forgotten to stock up on snacks. Anai-yong went out to the yard and saw Young Guobao and Gooden playing. An idea suddenly popped into her head. She asked, Dabeo, Gooden, can you handle spicy food? We can. Young Guobao and Gooden nodded. Anai-yong went on. You two keep little Yun occupied in the yard. I'm going to make something delicious that you've never tasted before. A delicious treat they've never tasted before. Upon hearing this, Young Guobao and Gooden's eyes lit up. They involuntarily swallowed hard. Anai-yong turned and went into the kitchen to work on it. First, she kneaded the flour into a dough and let it rise. Then she heated up a pot of rapeseed oil. When the oil was half hot, she added star anise, cassia bark, bay leaves, ginger, green onions, etc. and let it fry over low heat for about 10 minutes. Soon the air was filled with an enticing aroma. After 10 minutes, she added onions and cilantro and continued frying. 5 minutes later she turned off the heat, covered the pot, and let it sit for another 5 minutes. Then she picked out all the spices, onions and cilantro. Next, she drizzled the well-prepared fragrant oil on chili powder, added cumin powder, 13 spices, MSG, etc. and a bowl of spicy yet aromatic oil chili sauce was ready. After the chili oil was prepared, Anai-yong began to roll the risen dough into a thin pancake shape, then cut it into strips with a knife, steamed them in a pot, then lightly fried the dough strips in the pan, finally soaking the strips in the chili oil for half an hour. After half an hour, a spicy and delicious serving of spicy strips was ready. Right. The delicacy Anai-yong made was spicy strips. Spicy strips were a snack that appeared in 1998 and completely swept the globe in 2000, with various brands competing to put it on the market. The Weilong spicy strips were the most famous, and could be considered as the original spicy strips brand. Tang Priest Meat was also a popular brand of spicy strips. Anai-yong placed the prepared spicy strips onto the table. Gooden, Dabeo, come and try. We're coming. Gooden and Dabeo quickly ran over. Gooden picked up a strip and took a bite. The spicy strip was numbing, spicy, and even slightly sweet. It had a pleasant chewy texture, and every bite was filled with flavor. It was addictive. The more you ate, the more you wanted. Delicious. It was so delicious. Sister Anai-yong, what is this? Why is it so delicious? Young Guobao licked every bit of the red oil off his fingers, then licked each finger individually. Gooden was so excited that he couldn't even speak, eating with his mouth full of oil. And Young laughed. This is called a spicy strip. Spicy strip? Yang Guobao continued. Sister and Young, how is this made? I've never tasted something so delicious in my life. Chapter 419. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _5. And Young explained. The origin of the spicy strips is Xiangnan Pingjiang. I saw the method of making it from a tree, and then learned it. Yang Guobao nodded. Sister and Young, you are truly amazing. After swallowing the spicy strips in his mouth in one breath, Gooden shouted out, Long live Sister and Young. And Young laughed. I've made a lot of spicy strips. You guys can invite the other kids in the village to come and eat together. Alright. Well, go invite them now. Gooden and Yang Guobao were very eager to share these delicious snacks with everyone else. In no time, they returned with more than a dozen children in tow. And Young had made 5 big plates of spicy strips, and the children devoured them all. As a result, the already amazing Sister and Young became even more amazing in the eyes of these children. By the time they finished the spicy strips, it was already evening, and Young began to prepare dinner. Dinner was still made up of 4 dishes and a soup, focusing on dietary fiber and breast enhancement. The next day, Young took Tsuehua to the city to try Japanese food. At this time, there were already 3 Japanese restaurants in the city, but Young took Tsuehua to the largest one in the downtown area. This Japanese restaurant was doing quite well. It had a total of 3 floors, and the decor was very classic and romantic, making it a perfect date spot. Young ordered dishes such as sea urchin mixed with jellyfish, salmon sashimi, grilled eel, tempura, etc., and also ordered desserts and fruits. Little Yun was sitting on her baby chair, holding a slice of watermelon and nibbling away. The sashimi and sea urchin were raw. Tsuehua had never tried them before and was a bit put off. She frowned and said, Yang, why do foreigners like to eat these unpalatable raw ingredients? Young laughed. The traditional culture in our country believes that food should be minimally processed and eaten as naturally as possible. The best flavor is found when food is closest to its natural state. Although salmon sashimi and sea urchin are raw, the grilled eel, assorted ramen and tempura are all cooked. Try some, Mom. Young put a piece of grilled eel into Quihua's bowl. Tsuehua tasted it and commented, This grilled fish is quite delicious. Young continued, Although the sashimi is raw, the flavor isn't bad once you get used to it. Tsuehua asked, Yang, is it very expensive to eat here? Young laughed. It's not too expensive. How much is this meal? Young thought for a moment, then said, Probably more than 300 yuan. Japanese restaurants in 1984 were not cheap, especially high-class ones. When Tsuehua heard that this meal cost more than 200 yuan, she tasted the salmon sashimi again, chewed carefully and said, It feels like eating raw fatty meat, it's too greasy and slightly fishy, not tasty. She could also tell that the portions were very small. There were only 7 or 8 slices of fish in a plate, the rest was ice and shredded radish used as garnish. Young picked up a piece of salmon. You can't eat it like this, Mom. You have to dip it in soy sauce and wasabi. This green thing is wasabi? Tsuehua continued. What is wasabi? I've never even heard of it before. Wasabi is a condiment, also known as wasabi root. It's a bit spicy and is great for getting rid of the fishy taste. Try it. Young spoke as she placed a piece of salmon dipped in wasabi and soy sauce into Quihua's bowl. Tsuehua tasted it and nodded. The flavor does seem to have improved quite a bit since before. After speaking, Tsuehua asked again, Won't there be parasites in this raw meat? In the countryside, people were extremely hesitant to eat raw meat. If she hadn't witnessed the medium-rare steak at the Western restaurant earlier, Tsuehua would absolutely refuse to eat raw fish. Young explained, Mom, salmon live about 8,000 meters deep in the sea. So under normal circumstances there would be no parasites. Furthermore, before it is consumed, it is generally frozen at -30 degrees Celsius to kill any parasites, so even if there were any they would be dead. You don't have to worry. Tu. Anai Tsuehua nodded, finally able to relax. Halfway through the meal, Anai Yang excused herself to go to the washroom. On her way to the washroom, Anai Yang came across a person she found very annoying. Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan was sitting at a dining table, leisurely eating his sashimi. As a scion of a wealthy family, his dining etiquette was very distinguished. Anai Yang withdrew her gaze, not intending to greet him, and continued towards the washroom. 2. Chapter 420. Many Years of Red Moles. The show is really good to watch. _6. Anai Yang saw Mo Baichuan and of course, Mo Baichuan saw Anai Yang as well. In fact, from the moment Anai Yang entered the shop, Mo Baichuan had noticed her. The only reason he appeared so calm was to imply that he no longer cared about her. No matter what Anai Yang did, he would not even bother to take an extra glance at her. He was going to make her beg him for mercy. How long could she last under his complete indifference? Mo Baichuan picked up a napkin and wiped the corners of his mouth, a mocking glint flashing in his eyes. Anai Yang was just about to enter the restroom when she heard the faint murmur of conversation. The voices were too familiar, which made her halt unconsciously. Li Xianxian, stop right there. It was Zhang Xianjing's voice. Li Xianxian turned around and said disdainfully, "Who do you think you are? Why should I stop just because you told me to?" Li Xianxian. Zhang Xianjing stared at Li Xianxian, speaking in a chilly tone. "I've known Brother Baichuan for 23 years. We were childhood friends. If you have any sense, you would stay away from Brother Baichuan, or else all your efforts will be wasted." She had grown up with Mo Baichuan. If she hadn't bet on the wrong person previously, she wouldn't have given this vile woman, Li Xianxian, a chance to take advantage. Zhang Xianjing was full of regret. She had been so foolish to believe that Mo Qishan was Mr. Mog. Li Xianxian chuckled and said, "I'm sorry, but I am currently Baichuan's girlfriend." Zhang Xianjing, what gives you the right to tell me this? Do you have any sense of shame left for wanting to snatch someone else's boyfriend? Zhang Xianjing was disgusting. How could she dare to provoke her, the legitimate girlfriend, so openly? "I have no shame?" Zhang Xianjing, visibly trembling with anger, pointed at Li Xianxian and said, "When I got to know Brother Baichuan, you were nowhere to be seen. The shameless one here is you. You stole my Brother Baichuan. You cheeky vile woman." Li Xianxian responded with a broad smile, seemingly unaffected. "I could steal Baichuan away because Baichuan loves me. Why don't you ask Baichuan if he loves you?" Zhang Xianjing, aren't you ashamed of yourself? Has your mother never taught you how to be a decent person, and only taught you how to snatch men? It would be such a waste for someone like you not to be a hooker. Her last words were clearly provocative. A hooker? What is a hooker? In Guangguan, a hooker is another name for a prostitute. Li Xianxian had the audacity to call her that. Zhang Xianjing wished she could bite Li Xianxian to death. Why wouldn't this vile woman just drop dead? But Li Xianxian was not afraid of Zhang Xianjing. To Zhang Xianjing, the most she could become was a wealthy second-generation brat. Moreover, she wasn't even a legitimate descendant of the Zhang family. The day the old Madame Zhang loses her temper, she would become nothing. She wasn't worth fearing at all. Moreover, Mo Baichuan was Mr. Mog. One Zhang family, let alone 100, would mean nothing in front of Mo Baichuan. Bitch. Don't get cocky too soon. Zhang Xianjing's voice was distorted with rage. Bastard. Li Xianxian snorted dismissively. Rest assured, I'll definitely keep riding on my high horse. Bastard. Zhang Xianjing was close to blowing a fuse. Li Xianxian actually had the audacity to call her a bastard. Watching Zhang Xianjing, Li Xianxian added fuel to the fire. What are you staring at me for? Are you upset because I called you a bastard? If you're unhappy, why don't you come hit me? Right here? Li Xianxian pointed at her own face, closing in on Zhang Xianjing step by step. Zhang Xianjing genuinely didn't dare to hit her, because she knew Li Xianxian was purposely provoking her. Li Xianxian wanted Mo Baichuan to dislike her. She would never let this vile woman have her way. Just wait. The day would come when she would get her revenge. Zhang Xianjing clenched her fists, a malicious light lurking in the depths of her eyes. Li Xianxian continued tauntingly, Zhang Xianjing, Your mother Zheng Lingling is nothing but an adopted daughter of the Zheng family. I really don't understand what you're feeling so superior about. As an adopted child, you should know your place. Otherwise, if you upset Madame Zheng one day, she may kick both you and your mother out, and then, you'd be absolutely nothing. Zheng Xianjing looked up at Li Xianxian and said word by word, "You cheap thing, remember what you said today?" Li Xianxian chuckled. "Of course I remember. You've just hit a wall and you can't fight back. I'm not scared in the slightest." Zheng Xianjing shot a fierce glance at Li Xianxian before striding out of the restroom, Li Xianxian hot on her heels. Once the pair had left, and Ai Yang emerged from behind the bathroom door, a faint smile playing on her lips. She had to admit, the information she had gathered today was quite something. Before today, she had thought that Li Xianxian and Zheng Xianjing were two peas in a pod. Now it turns out, there's bad blood between them behind closed doors. And, it's such an exciting confrontation that Ai Yang almost felt like applauding them. From the look of things, it seems like Zheng Xianjing had already lost the battle. So she decided to give her a hand. A sly smile graced Ai Yang's lips. The plot was certainly getting more and more intriguing. She loved to see the dog-eat-dog world of others. Mo Baichuan was so vain and sentimental that if she personally got involved, he would surely think she was doing it for him. However, if Zheng Xianjing made a move, things would be completely different. That would simply be a win-win situation. When she came out of the restroom, Ai Yang passed by Mo Baichuan again. Mo Baichuan and Li Xianxian were sitting together. Across from them was Zheng Xianjing. To Ai Yang's surprise, Li Xianxian and Zheng Xianjing looked as if they hadn't had a fight, acting all sisterly towards each other. Seeing this, Ai Yang again felt the urge to applaud the two best actresses. How was it possible to act that well? Being so busy with their own drama, the two best actresses didn't notice Ai Yang. But Mo Baichuan glanced subtly in her direction. Seeing Ai Yang approaching, Mo Baichuan immediately picked up a piece of sashimi for Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian smiled and said, "Baichuan, Sister Xianjing is our guest. We should let her have this piece of sashimi. After all, it's the last piece left on the plate." After saying that, Li Xianxian transferred the piece of sashimi in her bowl to Zheng Xianjing's. Zheng Xianjing looked at the sashimi in the bowl, gritting her teeth in anger, but forced herself to swallow it. Li Xianxian was openly provoking her. Her meaning was clear. Only the things she didn't want would be passed on to her, just like the piece of sashimi. Zheng Xianjing said with a smile, "Thank you, Sister Xianxian. Brother Baichuan, there's a movie this afternoon. Why don't we three go and watch it together?" Li Xianxian is enjoying this, is she? Well, she'd make sure Li Xianxian had a miserable time. Mo Baichuan glanced at Li Xianxian and pretended to dote on her. "This is up to Xianxian." Li Xianxian gasped in surprise, then said, "I've also looked at this afternoon's movie schedule. It doesn't seem like there is anything interesting to watch." Mo Baichuan obliged her by saying, "Then we won't go." Li Xianxian looked triumphantly at Zheng Xianjing. Zheng Xianjing grimaced, "Cheap thing, don't rejoice too soon." Ai Yang sat down at the dining table with a broad smile on her face. Little Ai Yun greeted her excitedly. Ai Tsuehua wondered, "Yang, what good news have you come across? You have such a huge smile on your face." Chapter 421. Buying a restaurant, a promising future _1. Ai Yang was indeed laughing very heartily. How could she not be happy after watching such a drama unfold? But in Mo Baichuan's eyes, her laughter seemed forced. Because throughout the whole situation, he didn't even spare an extra glance at Ai Yang. He treated Li Xianxian so well, and Ai Yang must surely feel jealous. But she also desired his attention, so she was forced to put on a brave face. Thinking of this, Mo Baichuan reached out and put another piece of sushi in Li Xianxian's bowl, knowing that this would surely provoke Ai Yang. Li Xianxian blushed slightly. "Thank you, Baichuan." Zheng Xianjing felt a mixture of emotions in her heart. It was overwhelming. If Li Xianxian hadn't butted in, the person accompanying Mo Baichuan right now would surely be her. How dare Li Xianxian, this wretched woman, act so arrogantly here? No. She must win back Mo Baichuan. Definitely. A nefarious glimmer surfaced in Zheng Xianjing's downcast eyes, but she maintained a soft smile on her face. Mom, guess what I saw earlier? Young asked Suehua. What did you see? Suehua curiously asked. Young took a bite of her dessert. I saw 2 dogs fighting. Suehua gasped. There's nothing unusual about that. Dogs fight all the time. I see it every day in the village. Young just kept smiling, saying nothing. When they were almost done eating, Young called the waiter to pay the bill. Miss, that would be 318 yuan in total, the waiter announced. All right. Young handed over the money. Spending 318 yuan on a single meal, which equates to a common wage earner's 10-month salary, would have previously made Suehua feel distressed. But now Suehua had grown accustomed to it. As they earned more money, they encountered different things, their living standards increased, and their perspectives widened accordingly. Little Yun, come to sister. Young gestured toward little Yun. Sister. Little Yun extended her arms. Young picked up little Yun, and Suehua picked up her bag, following in Yang's footsteps. Mo Baichuan's gaze unintentionally swept toward Yang's side, and discovered that her seat was already vacated. There was a mocking glint in his eyes. So Young couldn't sit still anymore, could she? Mo Baichuan subtly withdrew his gaze, turned to Li Xianxian. Finished eating? Let's head back once we're done. Okay. Li Xianxian nodded gently. Zheng Xianjing followed up. Brother Baichuan, where are we going this afternoon? Just as Li Xianxian thought that Mo Baichuan would certainly ask for her opinion, he responded. You guys can go out this afternoon. I have other matters to attend to. He had already provoked Yang, so naturally there was no need to keep up the act with Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian was momentarily stunned, then wisely said, Work is important, Baichuan, you go ahead. It seems that Mo Baichuan doesn't like Li Xianxian as much as she thought. Zheng Xianjing quickly seized the opportunity. Brother Baichuan, I also have things to do this afternoon. Could you drop me off on your way? Sure, Mo Baichuan nodded. He and Zheng Xianjing grew up together. Their relationship was like siblings, so giving her a lift was completely normal. Thank you, Brother Baichuan. Zheng Xianjing stood up. Xianxian, we're leaving first. The word "we" sounded particularly irritating to Li Xianxian. How cunning of Zheng Xianjing. Li Xianxian replied with a smile. Baichuan, make sure to safely take Xianjing home. Mo Baichuan nodded in agreement. Zheng Xianjing gleefully clung to Mo Baichuan's arm. Brother Baichuan, let's go. Looking at their departing figures, a simmering rage flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes, as if she were about to burn Zheng Xianjing to ashes. It seems the plan needs to be accelerated. She must have a child to tether Mo Baichuan tightly to her. Yang was out shopping with Suehua, carrying little Yun in her arms. As they passed by a handbag shop, Yang suggested, Mom, let's go buy a bag. Suehua was still using a bag made from scraps of fabric. I have a bag, we don't need to waste money. Suehua refused. Yang laughed and replied, Let's buy one, it's not that expensive. We spent over 300 yuan on our meal. What's a bag compared to that? Suehua hesitated for a moment before finally accompanying Yang into the store. At that time, big brands like LV, Versace, Gucci, and Bulgari hadn't yet penetrated the domestic market. So all the bags sold in the store were locally produced, with tube bags being the most popular. Conveniently hung on the handlebars of a bicycle, tube bags were both stylish and practical. Chapter 422. Buying a restaurant, a promising future _2. Young picked out 2 bag styles, one in a cylindrical design, and another lattice bag. The cylindrical one was for Suehua, and the lattice handbag was for herself. Suehua did need to carry many things when going out with the kids, so a cylindrical bag would be more convenient for her. The 2 bags cost 30 yuan. After buying the bags, Yang said, Mom, let's go buy a bicycle. Suehua replied, Why buy a bicycle? We already have one at home, don't we? Yang continued, The bicycle is for you to ride, Mom. It'll make things more convenient for you when you're out. Suehua always had to walk to the edge of the village and take the bus to get to the city, which took a lot of time. No need. and Tsuehua refused. I hardly go out anyway. Besides, Yunyun is still too little to sit on her own. Even if there were a bike, I couldn't ride it. Let's buy one anyway. Then we'll install a child seat on the back. Yunyun can sit there. Convinced by these words, Tsuehua decided to follow Yang and buy a bicycle. A Phoenix brand bicycle was 275 yuan. Adding a child seat, the total cost was 280 yuan. The child seat available at the time was made of woven bamboo. It was completely natural and non-polluting, and was very cool to sit on in the summer. As soon as she sat on the child seat, little Yin started laughing joyously. Mother and daughter were walking forward while pushing the bicycle along. When passing by a bustling commercial street, they saw a group of people discussing something. Is this restaurant about to close down? The transfer fee is 2,800 yuan? No, wait. 1,010, 10,000. 48,000? Gosh. Am I hallucinating? They're only selling an empty shell and still want 38,000. Has the boss gone mad? Whoever buys it is an idiot. Even 2008 is too much. Yang backtracked quietly when she heard these remarks, and looked at a red notice with black letters pasted on the wall. The gist of the notice was that the restaurant was facing closure due to poor management. Now they wanted to transfer ownership. The transfer fee, together with the restaurant's property rights, was being offered for sale at 48,000 yuan. It was a 3-story small restaurant with over 1,500 square meters. 48,000 yuan was not expensive. Moreover, considering the location, it would not cost less than several hundred million yuan in the future. For a moment, Yang was tempted. After all, she used to be in the catering industry in her previous life. Mom, what do you think about this restaurant? Tsuehua shook her head. Not good, it's about to go bankrupt. Yang smiled. Mom, when assessing a situation, we can't just look at the surface. There are many reasons why a restaurant might go bankrupt. It could be due to poor management, or it could be a problem with the taste of the food. I think the location here is good, and if it's well managed and the food tastes good, we don't have to worry about there being no business. Since it's a restaurant, the taste certainly plays a key role. As long as the taste is good and the service is up to standard, there should be no problem. In this era, people's sense of service and being served isn't strongly developed. If they can train a team to provide quality service, like Heidaleo in the future, they can certainly stand out in this industry. As a mother knows her daughter best, Tsuehua quickly grasped Yang's intentions. Yang, you're not thinking of buying this restaurant, are you? Yes, Yang nodded. Tsuehua said. That's 480,000. It's a lot more than just a few hundred or a few thousand. Yang, think it through. Yang replied. Mom, I've thought it through. I want to buy it. If she bought the restaurant, even if she didn't run it, she wouldn't lose anything just leaving it as it was. On the contrary, she would make a fortune. Of course, Yang wanted to buy it. What's more, Yang was confident she could turn the business around. This way she could make money and see her asset appreciate. It was like hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. 480,000 was a large sum for Tsuehua. She expressed some concern and said, Yang, do we really have that much money? Even though she knew the milk tea shop, noodle restaurant and skincare shop were all very profitable and making good money, Tsuehua had not actually worked out the figures. She did not know just how much money Yang had. Yang patted Tsuehua's hand. You don't need to worry about the money. Tsuehua continued. Yang, the restaurant owner couldn't even make a profit before going bankrupt. Are you sure you will succeed if you take over? This is 480,000, not 48, or 4,800. Yang, our noodle restaurant, milk tea shop, and skincare shop have done very well. Maybe we should not bother with anything else? As the old saying goes, don't fuss over trifles, and you won't end up poor. We should live a steady life. We have enough money. We just need to have enough to spend. I'm content with the life we have. Chapter 423. Buying a restaurant. A promising future _3. Perhaps it was because she had suffered many hardships in the first half of her life, but Tsuehua now had no great ambitions, and was very content with her current situation. Mom, said Anayan, a life without dreams is a life without purpose. I may be a commoner without grand dreams, but I just want to become a female tycoon and prove to the world that there's no difference between men and women. As long as one is willing to work hard, a girl can also make a name for herself. Anai Tsuehua herself had lived a painful early life due to a cultural bias preferring boys over girls, so every time Anayan made such a declaration, she felt a deep resonance. Girls are no different than boys. They are not handicapped or deficient in any way. Why should they receive unequal treatment? Anai Tsuehua continued. I understand the principle you're talking about, but 480,000 yuan is no small sum. I hope you'll consider carefully. Anayan nodded her head. Don't worry, Mom. I never take on anything if I'm not confident about it. And I never do loss-making businesses. All right. Anai Tsuehua continued. You go and have a good talk with them then. I'll take Yunyan and go check on our noodle restaurant. Anayan was going in to discuss business. Having her child with her might be somewhat distracting. And Anai Tsuehua was not a woman without sense. Anayan nodded slightly. I'll come to the noodle restaurant as soon as I'm done here. Anai Tsuehua mounted her bike and left with little Anayan. Instead of going straight into the restaurant, Anayan hailed a taxi. Sir, could you take me to the agricultural bank? At this point in time, taxis were a luxury, used only by a minority of people. Even Benz cars with 3 rows of seats were used as taxis. By the early 1990s, it was the heyday of cars with vanity plates and economy models. All right. The cab driver was a very talkative man. Young lady, you don't look like you're from around here. Anayan nodded slightly. I'm from Haicheng. Haicheng is more than 1,000 kilometers from Beijing, isn't it? Anayan said. About 1,200 kilometers or so. I've been to Haicheng before. Everything is good, but the preference for sons over daughters is too severe. The driver continued. Which part of Haicheng are you from? Dam village. Anayan answered truthfully. Oh. The driver nodded. A strange look flashed in his eyes and he fell silent. In a short time they arrived at the entrance of the agricultural bank. In order not to worry about finding a taxi later, Anayan looked at the plate on the dashboard and said, Mr. Su, would you mind waiting here for me? I'll be back shortly. I'm willing to pay extra. If she was willing to pay extra, what reason did he have to refuse? Mr. Su nodded. Sure, I'll wait for you here. Thank you, Mr. Su. Anayan pulled out a yuan and handed it to him. She entered the bank and requested a check from the teller. Though checks didn't become universally accepted until 2006, in Beijing in the 1980s, people could already issue checks with unlimited amounts. These checks, however, could only be used within Beijing and not elsewhere. When she exited, Mr. Su was still waiting at the door. Anayan opened the car door and got inside. Mr. Su asked, Young lady, where would you like to go now? Anayan answered, Back to the place we just came from. All right, Mr. Su said as he started the engine and started to engage her in casual conversation. You're quite attractive, young lady. Do you have a boyfriend? If not, I could introduce you to someone. Anayan replied politely, Thank you for the offer, but I already have a boyfriend. Oh, that's a shame. The young man I was going to suggest to you, his family is quite well off. By the way, do you have any sisters at home? I have one younger sister who's 11 months old. Just one sister? Mr. Su asked. Anayan nodded, not saying much. Mr. Su glanced at Anayan through the rearview mirror, a look of surprise flashing across his eyes. He didn't say anything else. Shortly, the car arrived at the entrance of the restaurant. Anayan stepped out of the car and entered the restaurant. Watching Anayan's receding figure, Mr. Su had a complex expression on his face. After a moment he drove off. Although the restaurant was in the process of being sold, it was still in business. The waiters inside weren't very enthusiastic. Seeing Anayan walk in, none of them even bothered to greet her. Anayan walked up to one of them and asked, Hello, is your boss around? The waiter responded with indifference. Our boss is in the private room on the 3rd floor. Chapter 424. Buying a restaurant, a promising future _4. And I Young wasn't angry and she said, "Could you take me there?" "Follow me." The waiter strode forward. The two of them arrived at a private room on the third floor. Just as he knocked on the door, a smile appeared on the waiter's face. "Boss, what can I do for you?" The restaurant owner appeared to be a young man in his 20s. "This lady is looking for you." The waiter took a step back. "Hello." And I Young spoke softly. At the sight of I Young, the young man blinked, then said, "Hello." As I Young walked in, she said, "I'm here to discuss the sale of your restaurant." At that, the young man seemed taken aback. I Young was thin and young. Although she was quite pretty, she didn't fit the image of a rich person. In this day and age, most of the rich were somewhat overweight. Rich people could afford to eat meat. Their bellies were plump, so naturally they were fat. Someone like I Young, clearly, looked like an ordinary person who couldn't even afford meat. How could she afford to buy a restaurant? The man expressed his doubts. I Young knew he had apprehensions. After all, she was quite young. "This is a check." I Young placed a check on the table. Seeing the check for 480,000, the man expressed his confusion. "Are you sure you're serious?" The young man had seen the world and knew full well that the check wasn't fake. I Young smiled calmly. "Does it look like I'm joking?" Even though she was smiling, there was not a shred of joking in her words. She didn't act like a 17-year-old girl, but more like someone who had faced trials and tribulations. The young man sobered up, stood up, and pulled out a chair. "Please have a seat." "Thank you." I Young sat down gracefully. "Let me introduce myself. I'm I Young. You can just call me Xiaoni, and I will be taking over your restaurant." The young man said, "Nice to meet you, Miss I. My name is Chen Jitsong." Chen Jitsong was 27, and a returned international student who embraced new ideas, and was educated in the ways of modern schooling with no prejudice against small business owners. He studied hotel management abroad, considering his professional knowledge comprehensive. In school he was an outstanding student, so his confidence in owning a restaurant and soaring in the industry was high. However, theoretical knowledge and practical experience turned out to be quite different. The restaurant had lost hundreds of thousands within a year. Chen Zikang's initial enthusiasm had turned into general despair. His family stopped funding the restaurant, so he had to sell it and return home to take over the family business. I Young went straight to the point. "Mr. Chen, if there aren't any issues, we can sign the contract and settle formalities now." Chen Jitsong seemed slightly nervous. "Does your family know about this?" The restaurant had continuously been in losses. He didn't want to deceive a minor. I Young said with a smile, "Don't worry, Mr. Chen. I'm of age. The contracts I sign are legally binding. If you're worried about the check, I can go to the bank with you for verification." Chen Jitsong continued, "Do you know that my restaurant has been in the red the whole time?" I Young responded coolly, "I know." Chen Jitsong was somewhat surprised. "You know, and you're still willing to buy it?" I Young wasn't the first person who wanted to buy the restaurant. Before her, there had been at least 20 other people. But the first thing they did was slash the asking price. The 480,000 priced restaurant was immediately brought down to just over 100,000. However, I Young didn't seem to have any intention of negotiation. This was strange. I Young was blunt. "I'm confident I can make it popular." Chen Jitsong laughed. "I was just as ambitious when I started." After that, he posted a lease transfer notice. It was a sad recollection. Having had such a failed venture, Chen Jitsong had no desire to start over. He was better off inheriting the family business. I Young asked instead, "So, Mr. Chen, are you not willing to sell now?" "No, it's not that," Chen Jitsong continued. "I just think you're rather strange. By the way, which family from Beijing do you belong to? How come I've never seen you before?" Seeing I Yang's indifference towards the 480,000, Chen Jitsong subconsciously thought she was from a well-off family. Chapter 425. Buying a Restaurant, a Promising Future _5. It was odd that Chen Jihao, who had met nearly all the socialites in Beijing the day he returned to the country, had never encountered I Yang. I Yang was so attractive, if he had met her, it would be impossible to forget. I Yang said, I'm not from your circle. Upon hearing this, Chen Jitsong said with a surprised face, Then how come you're so wealthy? And Yang gave a faint smile. Mr. Chen, do you still want to sell your restaurant? Chen Jitsong, realizing his rudeness, hurriedly said, Sell, let me grab the contract. And then we can go to the Bureau of Industry and Commerce together. And Yang nodded. Chen Jitsong took the contract and pushed it towards Yang. And Yang picked up the contract, without rushing to sign, but read swiftly as the turning pages rustled in the air. She was reading so quickly that Chen Jitsong thought she was just posing. Just like some young girls who like to pretend they understand when they don't, acting like they are mature. Isn't something off here? And Yang set down the contract, pointing to a clause. What's the problem? Chen Jitsong asked. And Yang continued. It should specify here that the restaurant is not just being leased, it's being sold along with its property rights. Otherwise, this could easily lead to disputes later. Let me see. Hearing this, Chen Jitsong also took the contract and started to read it carefully. After a moment he nodded and said, I apologize, Miss Anai. This is indeed an issue. I'll contact the lawyer to make adjustments. After the lawyer drafted the contract, Chen Jitsong also took a look, but he didn't notice the problem. He didn't expect that Yang would spot the issue immediately. This girl was not to be underestimated. Chen Jitsong was secretly surprised. Yang picked up her pen and marked the problematic area. She then said, Don't rush to amend it, let me read it again. Okay. Chen Jitsong looked at Yang again, his eyes filled with a hint of admiration. When she was reading the contract, her eyebrows frowned in concentration, her lips pressed together. Her appearance was extremely attractive. No wonder they say that people are most attractive when they are serious. Chen Jitsong had seen many beautiful women at home and abroad, but he had never encountered someone like Yang. Her beauty was beyond words, yet it was breathtaking. During the process of reviewing the contract, Yang pointed out a few more issues. The issues seemed small, but upon careful inspection, they were quite troublesome. Suppressing the shock in his heart, Chen Jitsong said, We won't have time to sign the contract today. I will have the lawyer revise these issues when I go back. Let's plan to meet tomorrow afternoon. Okay. Yang nodded. See you tomorrow afternoon. Would Miss and I like to take a tour of the restaurant? Chen Jitsong asked. Yang smiled subtly. I'd be delighted. This way, please. Chen Jitsong led the way. Following Chen Jitsong from the restaurant's kitchen to the front hall, Yang roughly understood why Chen Jitsong was losing money. It was because Chen Jitsong failed to bring out the special features of the restaurant, and his management was too by the book. The chefs he hired were all experts in making local Beijing cuisine. Beijing dwellers were tired of local dishes, and with the staff lacking service skills, business wouldn't be great. After a tour of the restaurant with Chen Jitsong, Yang said her goodbyes. Chen Jitsong walked Yang to the door. Miss and I, let's meet again tomorrow afternoon. Okay. Yang nodded. Goodbye, Mr. Chen. Goodbye. Watching Yang's retreating figure, Chen Jitsong felt an unease in his long-settled heart, as if it had been hit by a lost deer. He hadn't felt this impulsive for many years. He suddenly felt thankful for his decision to return from studying abroad and to open a restaurant. Had he not opened a restaurant, he wouldn't have made a loss, and consequently, he wouldn't have met Yang. Upon arriving at the noodle restaurant, Tsuehua asked, Yang, how did your business negotiation go? Yang replied, It's essentially settled. I'll be making the payment and discussing the contract tomorrow. Tsuehua nodded. Now that you've made a decision, I won't say much. As long as you know what you're doing. Yang slipped her arm through Quihua's. Mom, don't worry. I will make sure our lives get better. In the evening, Yang and Tsuehua cycled back to Jinghua village. The first thing Yang did when she got home was to feed the mina with bugs. Chapter 426. Buying a restaurant, a promising future _6. The little guy hadn't eaten anything all day, so when he saw Yang coming, he couldn't help but open his mouth eagerly. Duo. Yang fed it while calling the little guy's name. After feeding nearly 10 worms, The little one couldn't eat anymore, so it just kept its pair of glossy and round little eyes fixated on Yang. Believing that good education starts from young, Yang began to repetitively greet the little one by saying, how? Not sure whether the little bird understood or not, it clacked its beak after a while, then tucked its head under its wings. Yang. Quihua's voice came from the kitchen. Coming. Yang stroked the little bird's sparse feathers, and then went for the kitchen. Yang, how do you make those spicy strips? Can you teach me? Of course. Yang nodded and began to teach her step by step. Making spicy strips isn't actually difficult. The most important things are mastering the oil chilies and timing for dough raising. Suehua is intelligent, she could already replicate the process after one teaching. The following day, around 1 in the afternoon, Yang arrived at the restaurant as promised. Chen Jitsung had been waiting for quite some time. When he saw Yang coming, his eyes lit up. Miss Ni. Mr. Chen. Yang nodded slightly in greeting. Chen Jitsung presented a contract to Yang. After Yang reviewed it and confirmed that there were no issues, she signed it. Miss Ni, your penmanship is quite good. Chen Jitsung praised genuinely. Thank you. After the contract was signed, they went to the agency to handle various transfer procedures and to register the property. By the time all the procedures were complete, it was evening. The golden sunshine covered the earth. Chen Jitsung handed all the keys of the restaurant to Yang. Miss Ni, I wish you a thriving business with abundant sources of wealth. Thank you. Yang took the keys. Wishing you two to find light amidst the darkness, and a future full of promise. Yang didn't intend to continue serving traditional dishes, nor did she plan to maintain the decor of the restaurant, but there were still quite a lot of supplies left in the restaurant, such as grain, oil, semi-finished dishes, meat, etc. Chen Jitsung, having done business for the first time without any experience, had about 10,000 yuan's worth of supplies in stock. It would be a waste just to leave them sitting there, and they wouldn't be eaten up in a short time, so Yang decided to give them away. She decided to give them to the homeless and impoverished families. There were 50+ waiters and 20 chefs still living in the restaurant. Yang paid everyone 2 yuan per day, asking for their help in distributing these items. There is a road in Beijing called Walt Road. The road is home to homeless people and impoverished families. Few lived on this road. Yang led everyone to Walt Road, going door to door handing out food. The standard for each house was 10 kilograms of rice, 1 jar of oil, 2 kilograms of pork, and some vegetables plus semi-finished vegetables. In those days, people seldom had meat. When they received these supplies, everyone was extremely excited. It was no different from manna from heaven. Thank you, kind people. Thank you, good people. In particular, there was an old woman who hadn't had meat for years. She tearfully accompanied Yang a long way, her eyes filled with tears. Those who never personally experienced that time would never understand the feeling of not having tasted the flavor of meat for years. Upon leaving the old woman's home, Yang brought more supplies to Fua's yard. Just as she walked into the yard, she saw a group of children surrounding and beating Fua. They were all children around 7 or 8 years old. Some were even just 3 or 4 years old. But the words coming out of their mouths were simply unbearable to hear, especially disgusting. Even Yang had never heard some of them before. They were probably cursing at Fua as a bastard without a mother. Yang frowned slightly, raising her voice. Who is bullying our Fua? Hearing this, all the children turned towards Yang. In that moment, Fua seemed to see the sun, his eyes filled with light. Sister. Yang walked over, picked up one of the children who was bullying Fua the most brutally, and started spanking him. For the first time in his life, Fua felt the feeling of being defended. The mischievous child started crying loudly. The other children immediately ran off to tattle. It wasn't long before a woman walked into the yard, spitting curses. Which shameless beast is bullying our child? Yang looked at the woman, responding with a cold voice. Raising a child who curses and hits people. That is the real shameless animal. The woman was just about to retort, but upon clearly seeing Yang's face, she immediately changed her attitude. Good person, it's you. We are really sorry, our child doesn't know any better, It's our fault that he hit Fua. Xuanzi quickly apologized to the good person, and Fua, the naughty child, refused to apologize, stubbornly said, I will not. He is a bastard. The woman raised her hand and slapped Xuanzi hard across the face. Apologize. Crying, Xuanzi apologized to Fua, promising that he would never bully Fua again. Xuanzi's mother also emphasized over and over that she will discipline Xuanzi in the future. And Ai Yang was not the type to hold a grudge when she was in the right. Upon seeing the mother and son like this, she decided to let it go. After this incident, Fua's friends all knew that Fua had a very formidable sister. No one dared to bully him anymore. Taking the opportunity of delivering food to Fua, and Ai Yang also performed a checkup for Zhou Tianbao. She found that he was recovering particularly well. In a few more days he would be able to remove the stick from his leg and walk. The base. There weren't many classes during this period, so Li Xianxian returned to Mo Baichuan's side and continued to work as his assistant. Even though they were in a romantic relationship, apart from some public occasions, Mo Baichuan did not make any intimate moves toward Li Xianxian, not even a simple kiss or hug. Sometimes, Mo Baichuan would be so cold that it made Li Xianxian question whether they were indeed in a relationship, which made her more determined to have a child. Tonight, Li Xianxian prepared a careful candlelight dinner. With her makeup meticulously done, she sat at the dining table waiting for Mo Baichuan. After a long wait, finally, footsteps were heard outside the door. Looking up, Li Xianxian saw that it was indeed Mo Baichuan. Baichuan. Mo Baichuan slightly bowed his head as he took a seat across from Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian poured a glass of red wine for Mo Baichuan. The medium-rare Kobe steak pairs best with red wine. Baichuan, have a taste. Chapter 427. A not-to-be-missed drama. _1. The steak was personally fried by Li Xianxian. To be able to cook a master-level crispy tender steak, she had intentionally attended a culinary course in our country for over a month. The red wine was personally purchased by Li Xianxian. It had been decanted previously. You could smell the fruity taste of grapes even before it reaches your throat. It was top-notch red wine from F country. Mo Baichuan picked up his glass and took a small sip. The taste is good. It just felt a bit bitter. He didn't recall ever having this slightly bitter feeling before drinking red wine. Could there be something wrong with his taste buds? Mo Baichuan took another sip and savored it carefully. This time he didn't get the slight bitter feeling again. Only the robust and mellow flavor that had missed was left. It must have been an illusion. Li Xianxian stole a glance at Mo Baichuan from the corner of her eye, a crafty smile hooking up at the corner of her mouth. Try the steak again. Li Xianxian stood up and switched the cut steak in front of her with Mo Baichuan's. No need. Mo Baichuan held down his plate, his tone indifferent. I can do it myself. All right. Li Xianxian sat down without feeling awkward and started to smile. Mo Baichuan was cutting the steak with his eyes down, his posture graceful. After all, he was a young master born into a wealthy family. This kind of demeanor that emanated from his bones was something ordinary people could never imitate without making a fool of themselves. Li Xianxian simply looked at him, the deep infatuation in her eyes impossible to conceal. Just thinking about how this excellent man would soon completely belong to her made Li Xianxian unable to contain her excitement once again. Baichuan. Li Xianxian took a sip of red wine and asked hesitantly, have you told your parents about us? What are you referring to? Mo Baichuan bit into the steak, savoring it carefully. From Mo Baichuan's reaction, Li Xianxian could tell that he didn't really care about this matter. A feeling of unwillingness flashed in Li Xianxian's eyes. Just what was she in Mo Baichuan's heart? In order to reach his heart, to stand beside him, she had transformed from a naive country girl who knew nothing into someone who could please the sophisticated ladies of Beijing. No one knew how much effort she had put into this. And what about Mo Baichuan? Mo Baichuan didn't even bother to inform his parents about this important matter. The more Li Xianxian thought about it, the more aggrieved she felt. Her heart was filled with an indescribable sadness. Yet she managed to conceal it well, feigning shyness as she said, I mean our relationship. At first, Mo Baichuan was a bit taken aback. Then he said, when the time is right, I will naturally tell them. Li Xianxian nodded, then said hesitantly, Baichuan, I feel like your parents don't really like me. While cutting the steak, Mo Baichuan said, My parents are very easygoing, you're overthinking. Li Xianxian didn't respond. She just poured another glass of wine for Mo Baichuan. Meanwhile, at the Zheng family's residence, the assistant was reporting Li Xianxian's whereabouts in the past few days to Zheng Xianjing. About a week ago, Li Xianxian ran around 10 pharmacies, all just to buy a specific secret potion. What kind of secret potion? Zheng Xianjing looked up at the assistant. The assistant's eyes flickered. He leaned in and whispered in Zheng Xianjing's ear. Upon hearing this, Zheng Xianjing was shocked. Really? The assistant nodded. After Li Xianxian left the pharmacy, I had someone purchase an identical potion from the pharmacy. Here it is. The assistant took out a small green bottle from his pocket. Written on the bottle were the words, Spring Breeze Palace. You're sure it's that potion? Zheng Xianjing squinted her eyes. This Li Xianxian really had wild ambitions. To think she dared to buy even this kind of potion. Fortunately, she was prepared and had someone following Li Xianxian. Yes, the assistant nodded. I have already had a doctor authenticate it. What is Li Xianxian doing now? Zheng Xianjing asked next. The assistant continued. Tonight Li Xianxian invited Mr. Mo for a dinner. What? Zheng Xianjing abruptly stood up from her chair. How could you tell something so important only now? You incompetent. She bought that kind of potion in one breath, and invited Mo Baichuan for dinner in the other. Even a fool would know Li Xianxian was up to no good. She was utterly shameless. Enraged, Zheng Xianjing stormed out. Fearing that every second wasted, Li Xianxian and Mo Baichuan would become a fait accompli. After a few steps, Zheng Xianjing broke her stride. Where are they having dinner? The assistant responded. At Li Xianxian's residence. The moment the assistant's words echoed, Zheng Xianjing had already disappeared from sight. Chapter 428. A not-to-be-missed drama. _2. She was too eager. She was dying to expose Li Xianxian's ugly facade to Mo Baichuan, and finally, she was given this chance to pay back for the insults Li Xianxian has thrown at her in the Japanese restaurant the other day. Zheng Xianjing was now both anxious and delighted. On the way down the stairs, she wasn't paying attention and bumped into a person. A ghost. Zheng Suyu made a scared gesture and ran upstairs, not daring to look back. If it were usual, Zheng Xianjing would definitely have taken this opportunity to teach Zheng Suyu a lesson in private. But today, she had no time to deal with a lunatic. Zheng Xianjing didn't even have time to call her driver. She quickly grabbed her car keys and left. She drove recklessly, eventually arriving at Li Xianxian's residence in the base. The base had tight security, but Zheng Xianjing's face was her pass. After all, she grew up with Mo Baichuan, so she had been to the base hundreds, if not thousands of times. Zheng Xianjing parked her car under Li Xianxian's apartment building, then climbed up to the second floor. The door was not locked from the inside, so Zheng Xianjing opened it in one push. The two inside having a drink were startled by this sudden interruption. Mo Baichuan was fairly calm, while Li Xianxian became so spooked that she turned pale and her voice was trembling. Sister Xianjing is here. What are you afraid of now that I'm here? Nothing is more frightening than having a guilty conscience. Li Xianxian was reacting way too strangely, making Zheng Xianjing even more convinced that something had been added to the wine. I am not afraid. Li Xianxian forced a grin, put down her wine glass. Sister Xianjing, please have a seat. I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't prepare a set of tableware for you. I hope you don't mind. Zheng Xianjing didn't accommodate her at all. She walked up to the table, picked up Mo Baichuan's wine glass, and took a sniff. Brother Baichuan, you can't drink this. Sister Xianjing, this wine is a pale purple from F country. Why can't I drink it? Li Xianxian had calmed down a lot now and stood up to retrieve the wine glass from Zheng Xianjing, but was skillfully avoided. Mo Baichuan looked at the two in confusion. Zheng Xianjing sneered. Li Xianxian, stop acting innocent. Do you not know what you've done wrong? Li Xianxian shook her head helplessly. Sister Xianjing, what on earth are you talking about? I don't understand. Zheng Xianjing looked at Li Xianxian with a mocking face. Li Xianxian, can you stop pretending to be innocent? Sooner or later, your deeds will be exposed. Stop acting. Li Xianxian turned pale and was so frightened that she even started tearing up. Sister Xianjing, if you have anything to say, just say it directly. I really don't understand how I offended you. Why are you targeting me every time? If I really did something wrong, I'm willing to apologize to you. I'm sorry, Sister Xianjing, I was wrong. At her words, Mo Baichuan turned to look at Zheng Xianjing, studying her more closely. From the moment she entered the room, Zheng Xianjing was accusatory, while Li Xianxian remained weak and understanding. Even though Zheng Xianjing's accusations had become very harsh, Li Xianxian chose to swallow her pride and apologize to Zheng Xianjing. Could an ordinary person have this kind of magnanimity? Perhaps Li Xianxian was really a rare good girl, and he shouldn't have started dating her just to stir up jealousy in Anai Yang. That would be using her. With this thought, Mo Baichuan was filled with guilt. It was he who had wronged Li Xianxian. Xianjing, you've gone too far. Mo Baichuan frowned slightly. Li Xianxian managed to hide a smile. In her previous life, she was well versed in human psychology. She knew that the defender always had the advantage. As long as she took the initiative to apologize, even if she was in the wrong, she would appear right. You think you can outsmart me, Zheng Xianxian? You're too naive. Brother Baichuan. Zheng Xianjing turned to Mo Baichuan and said, Li Xianxian put an aphrodisiac in this wine. She's trying to trap you. You mustn't be fooled by this wicked woman. Aphrodisiac. Upon hearing this, Mo Baichuan's face instantly changed. No wonder he thought there was something different about the taste of the wine today. So it was drugged. Zheng Xianjing continued to speak. Li Xianxian, how can you be so shameless? You even stooped to doing such a filthy thing. I really didn't. Li Xianxian immediately burst into tears, her voice choked. She didn't know what to say anymore. She just kept clutching Mo Baichuan's sleeve. Chapter 429, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _3. Mo Baichuan with a cold face said, Li Xianxian, you've really disappointed me. Baichuan, you've misunderstood me. I didn't use that kind of drug. Li Xianxian cried, her tears streaking through her makeup. It broke Mo Baichuan's heart to see her like this. After all, he had known Li Xianxian for more than 2 years. She had always been good to him, and even published a book this year. Would Li Xianxian ever do something like drugging someone? Whether or not you've used the drug, wouldn't going to the doctor's office confirm it? Li Xianxian, are you willing to go? Zheng Xianjing demanded fiercely. Baichuan, don't you trust me? Li Xianxian looked up at Mo Baichuan, her almond-shaped eyes red and swollen. Mo Baichuan looked at Li Xianxian, wavering in his resolve. Brother Baichuan, Zheng Xianjing quickly countered. Be calm. Don't be fooled by this woman. By the way, Brother Baichuan, did you drink the wine? If you did drink, there's no way you wouldn't react. Mo Baichuan hadn't realized until Zheng Xianjing mentioned it, but he began to feel a heat rising from his lower abdomen. Mo Baichuan grabbed Li Xianxian's arm. Come with me to the doctor's office. Zheng Xianjing held the wine glass, her eyes gleaming with malicious pleasure. I didn't use that kind of drug. Li Xianxian cried out indignantly, exclaiming, I won't go. Zheng Xianjing scoffed. The innocent are always without fear. If you're innocent, why are you afraid to go? Baichuan, I haven't. I really haven't. Believe me, Li Xianxian pleaded with teary eyes, directing her plaintive gaze at Mo Baichuan. This will affect my reputation for life. I hope you consider it all very carefully. Let's go. Mo Baichuan had completely lost trust in Li Xianxian, as his feeling of warmth had only gotten stronger. It was strange, he even felt like he was breaking into a sweat. Mo Baichuan pulled Li Xianxian all the way to the doctor's office while Zheng Xianjing followed, grinning triumphantly. The doctor in the office was a high school classmate of Mo Baichuan's, named Yin Xiaocheng. Mo Baichuan took the wine glass from Zheng Xianjing and handed it to Yin Xiaocheng. Help me verify if there's anything wrong with this wine. Without asking any further questions, Yin Xiaocheng accepted the glass and retired into the lab. Wait for me for 10 minutes. Li Xianxian watched as the lab door shut, her face a complex mix of emotions. Zhang Xianjing looked at Li Xiangxian's despair with a gratified smile. Who would have thought the impressive Li Xianxian would be reduced to this? After 10 minutes, the lab door reopened. Yin Xiaocheng, in his full lab gown, walked out. The smug look on Zhang Xianjing's face was brighter than ever. Mo Baichuan rushed up to him immediately. So how was it? Yin Xiaocheng removed his mask. Nothing is wrong with the wine, but how about you two? What is the problem? The wine is okay? Zhang Xianjing's face changed instantly. She blurted out. Brother Yin, are you sure you were correct? How could the wine be fine? Li Xianxian definitely drugged the wine. Ah, Yin Xiaocheng said with sudden realization. You're talking about that kind of drug. I told you there's a drug. Zhang Xianjing sighed in relief. Yin Xiaocheng asked, puzzled. What's wrong with the drug? Is there a problem? Mo Baichuan cleared his throat, speaking softly. Can we talk privately? After all, he thought being drugged wasn't something to be proud of. After hearing the full story, Yin Xiaocheng laughed. The feeling of warmth, sweating. These are normal symptoms from taking a stomach medicine. Stomach medicine? Mo Baichuan looked at him questioningly. What stomach medicine? Yin Xiaocheng continued. The stomach medicine that was soaked in the red wine. Didn't Xianxian tell you? In order to help your stomach, she came to me for advice many times. Li Xianxian stood to the side, her face revealing neither elation at her vindication nor indignation, but a calmness that hit Mo Baichuan like a pang of guilt. Xianxian, I'm sorry. Mo Baichuan struggled to speak those words. He had never apologized to anyone in his life. Li Xianxian was the first. Li Xianxian forced a smile, fighting back tears as she looked at Mo Baichuan. I guess it's my fault too. I shouldn't have secretly put the stomach medicine into the red wine, causing this misunderstanding. But what I couldn't believe is that you didn't trust me, Baichuan. I lost my parents when I was young. You're the only boyfriend I've had. You were the only person I could trust, but you didn't trust me. With every painful word Li Xianxian spoke, guilt stabbed at Mo Baichuan's heart. It was he who had really wronged Li Xianxian. He had no right to question her character. Chapter 430, a not-to-be-missed drama. _4. Yin Xiaocheng gave Mo Baichuan a pat on the shoulder. In fact, Xianxian means well, she's afraid you won't take your medicine on time, so she mixed the stomach medicine in the red wine. Brother, think about it, how many stomach pills have you thrown away these past years? Stomach medicine. There was actually stomach medicine in the red wine. Even Zhang Xianjing was stunned this time. Wasn't it that kind of medicine? How did it turn out to be stomach medicine? What exactly was going on? Zhang Xianjing glanced over at Li Xianxian, who smirked at her, the corner of her mouth filled with provocation. Now Zhang Xianjing understood everything. This was clearly a trap Li Xianxian had intentionally set for her. All was pre-planned by Li Xianxian. You vile woman! You schemed against me. Unable to bear such humiliation, Zhang Xianjing stormed over and slapped Li Xianxian hard across the face. Li Xiangxian's head jerked to one side, a trace of fresh blood oozing out of the corner of her mouth. Sister Xianjing, I didn't. Zhang Xianjing. Enough is enough. Mo Baichuan seized Zhang Xianjing's wrist and gave it a rough swing. Zhang Xianjing staggered, almost falling. Brother Baichuan, we have been friends since childhood. You've only known Li Xianxian for 2 years. Please believe me. It's Li Xianxian who's deliberately framing me. Zhang Xianjing, I've indulged you enough in the past. Get out now. Mo Baichuan angrily pointed towards the door, his face darkened with fury. Li Xianxian walked up to Mo Baichuan and seemingly understandingly said, Actually, Sister Xianjing means well. She's grown up with you and didn't mean to cause harm. It appeared that Li Xianxian was finding excuses for Zhang Xianjing when in reality, she was adding fuel to the fire. Zhang Xianjing almost died of anger. Damned Li Xianxian. She never dreamt that she would fall so miserably into Li Xiangxian's trap one day. But she wouldn't admit defeat. Zhang Xianjing immediately said, Brother Baichuan, I know I was wrong. Please don't be angry with me. Xianxian, please be magnanimous and forgive me. Not being entirely a fool, a hint of surprise flashed in Li Xiangxian's eyes, and she generously said, I hope that Sister Xianjing will think twice before doing anything next time. Zhang Xianxian nodded hurriedly. Thank you, Xian Xian. I promise there won't be a next time. The next time she will repay Li Xianxian 100,000, tens of thousand times over for the humiliation she suffered today. Li Xianxian looked at Mo Baichuan. I'd like to take a day off to calm down. Okay. Without any hesitation, Mo Baichuan nodded in agreement. Then I'll leave first. I'll walk you out, Mo Baichuan said, trying to make up for his guilt, and caught up with Li Xianxian's steps. Li Xianxian turned back to refuse Mo Baichuan. Don't follow me, I want to walk alone. This was the first time Li Xianxian had refused Mo Baichuan. Mo Baichuan was taken aback for a moment, and then said, Then be careful on your own. Li Xianxian nodded, turned around and walked towards the door. Her figure quickly disappeared from the base. Brother Baichuan, Zheng Xianjing hesitated to step forward. You should also go. Mo Baichuan pinched his temples. Zheng Xianjing continued. Brother Baichuan, believe me, I really didn't. Mo Baichuan cut Zheng Xianjing off mid-sentence. Go home. Those words exhausted all of Mo Baichuan's patience. Zheng Xianjing bit her lip and decided to retreat for now. After leaving the base, Li Xianxian didn't go anywhere else. Instead, she went to a public phone booth and made a phone call. After making the call, she squatted down on the side and sobbed sadly. Not long afterward, a small sedan pulled up next to Li Xianxian. Li Ting stepped out of the driver's seat. Xianxian, what's wrong? Although Yang had told Li Ting that Li Xianxian's song, Mountain Moon, was plagiarized from Shimorong, he didn't believe that Xianxian would plagiarize. How could a kind and exceptional girl like Li Xianxian commit such a contemptible act of plagiarism? It must have been Yang, who was jealous of Li Xianxian, slandering her. Moreover, Li Ting had checked. There was no author named Shimorong at all. Tingji, Li Xianxian threw herself into Li Ting's arms, sobbing loudly. Li Ting's eyes filled with heartache. Xianxian, what's the matter? Who bullied you? Tell me. I'll seek revenge for you. Stop asking, Tingji. I just want to hold you right now. Li Ting's heart twisted in pain. No one noticed that underneath the darkness, a malevolent smile curved up at the corner of Li Xianxian's mouth. It looked just like the hissing tongue of a venomous snake. Chapter 431. A not-to-be-missed drama. _5. Since Mo Baichuan didn't trust her, what does it matter if she played the part of the ill-fated princess once more? Originally she didn't want to go through all this trouble. After crying for a while, Li Xianxian's emotions gradually settled. Li Ting softly said, Xianxian, it's getting late, let me take you home. Li Xianxian tightly hugged Li Ting and after a long while she mumbled, Tingji, would you let me stay for the night? Li Xianxian was Li Ting's object of unfulfilled longing, so naturally, he was more than willing to agree to her request. Xianxian, aren't you concerned about your reputation? Li Ting hesitated. Despite his willingness, he had to consider Li Xianxian's reputation. After all, she was a girl. Li Xianxian feigned a strong smile. Do you think I am the type who cares about appearances? You're my only confidant. Let's go, I'll take you home. Li Ting opened the passenger side of the car. For the sake of Li Xianxian's reputation, Li Ting didn't take her back to Li family's villa, but brought her to his residence instead. Upon entering the residence, Li Ting busied himself with pouring hot water and preparing drinks for Li Xianxian. Li Xianxian said, I want to drink alcohol, Tingji. Do you have any here? Li Ting handed a milk drink to Li Xianxian. It's not good for girls to drink alcohol. It's better to have some milk before bed. Li Xianxian looked at Li Ting and choked out. I feel awful, Tingji, just let me have a sip. In that moment, Li Ting gave in, taking a can of beer from the fridge. Cans came into existence in the 1950s. Li Xianxian handed Li Ting a can. Tingji, let's toast. Cheers. Li Xianxian chugged most of the beer in the can and drunkenly slumped onto Li Ting. Tingji, you're so kind. Li Ting sat there, barely daring to move. Tingji, I'm thirsty. I want to drink water. Li Xianxian requested. Li Ting handed her a cup of water. Li Xianxian pushed it away. I don't want the cold one. I want hot water. Helplessly, Li Ting rose to pour Li Xianxian some hot water. Hearing the sound of Li Ting's footsteps growing distant, Li Xianxian quickly pulled a green pill from her pocket, dropped it into Li Ting's beer and shook it. Soon Li Ting came back with the hot water. Xianxian, have some water. Li Xianxian took the cup. Tingji, let's toast. Li Ting picked up the spiked can and drank. The more he drank, the woozier and hotter he felt, and he began to lose control of himself. Despite this, he remained conscious. He forcefully subdued Li Xianxian. No matter how much he resisted, it was useless. The next day, Li Ting opened his eyes to an intense headache. Looking at the ceiling, his mind blank for a moment. Was last night a dream or did it really happen? After a while, Li Ting lifted the covers and in that moment, he realized that it was not a dream. Everything that happened last night was real. He had forced Li Xianxian. What should he do? Li Ting massaged his temples in frustration. He didn't know what had come over him last night. It was as if he was suddenly possessed. Li Xianxian saw him as her confidant. But he treated Li Xianxian this way. There was no way she would forgive him. Beast! Li Ting fiercely slapped himself. After washing up, Li Ting went to Li Xianxian's school as soon as he could. After a long time, Li Xianxian came out looking frail and sorrowful, but with a bizarre melancholic beauty. Xianxian, Li Ting looked at Li Xianxian, wanting to speak but stopping. He knew it was too late to say anything now, but he could take responsibility for Li Xianxian. From now on, Li Xianxian would be the only lady of the Li family. He would spend the rest of his life treating her well. Don't say it. Li Xianxian interrupted Li Ting from speaking further. What happened last night was an accident, I don't blame you. Li Ting was taken aback. He didn't expect Li Xianxian to be this magnanimous. Li Xianxian went on. Tingji, I know what you're thinking, but I must clarify something. My relationship with you is nothing more than that of a confidant. I already have someone I like, he's my boyfriend now, and after what happened, I feel like I've really wronged him. If you really want to make it up to me, then help me keep this quiet. Chapter 432, A Not-to-be-missed Drama. _6. Li Tingji knew that Li Xianxian didn't like him. He had always known. But he still wanted to try. Xianxian, things have already happened. Marry me. I will be good to you in the future. Li Tingji, you're too selfish. Li Xianxian suddenly added weight to her tone. I didn't want it to happen. If you're not helping me now, it's fine. But you're using this to coerce me. Do you realize how hard it was for me to decide to see you? But you actually threatened me. Li Tingji became anxious. I'm sorry, Xianxian, I didn't mean it that way. I know I am wrong to you. Rest assured, I won't pressure you, nor will I intimidate you. I'll listen to whatever you say. After all, the one who was in the wrong was him towards Li Xianxian. That Li Xianxian could have been so composed was already beyond ordinary people. Come here. Li Xianxian spoke softly. Li Tingji leaned his head down. Li Xianxian whispered something in his ear. Hearing this, Li Tingji nodded and said, All right, leave this matter to me. His agreement came easily, but his eyes flashed with a look of pain. The Enai family. Enai Tsuehua was making chili strips in the kitchen. Adding to Enai Yan's recipe, she sprinkled another layer of white sesame onto the ready-made spicy strips. The spicy taste was combined with the aroma of sesame, leaving a delightful flavor in the mouth with each bite. Once the chili strips were ready, Enai Tsuehua filled up a big iron pot with them. She made a lot of chili strips, filling up an entire pot. Enai Tsuehua pushed out her bicycle, fixed little Enai Yun onto the child's seat, covered the iron pot full of chili strips with a plastic bag, and finally tied it onto the bike. By the time all this was done, it was already 3:30 p.m. Enai Tsuehua rode her bike towards the city center. At 4 p.m., Enai Tsuehua parked her bike in front of a primary school at the city center. Yes, Enai Tsuehua had come to sell chili strips. Enai Yin was so outstanding. She didn't want to be a useless mother, idling away at home every day. She wanted to do something too. The chili strips tasted so good. She was certain they would sell out in front of the school gate. Enai Tsuehua took out the chili strips and displayed them on a big stone by the roadside. Little Enai Yin sat in the bike's rear seat, not crying or making a fuss, exceptionally obedient. At 4:10 p.m., the school bell rang for the end of the day. Ding ding ding. A crowd of primary school students in school uniforms swarmed out. Enai Tsuehua, standing by the roadside, suddenly felt a little nervous. Coming out to sell something for the first time, she didn't know what to do. There were also others nearby selling buns and snacks, who didn't need to do anything for the children to rush to them. Some wanted the sesame candy costing 5 yuan, and others the sugared ice costing 3 yuan. Yet not a single student came to her. It was her first day setting up a stall, and the big iron pot wasn't filled with colorful candies or delicious juice, so the children, not knowing what she was selling, naturally wouldn't come over. What should she do now? Enai Tsuehua wanted to call out, but lacked the courage. She didn't know how to call out and felt extremely embarrassed. So when all the students had left, Enai Tsuehua hadn't sold a single chili strip. This was a bit beyond Enai Tsuehua's expectations. She had thought that it would be easy to do business, but she encountered a setback the day she started selling chili strips. At 5:30 p.m. Enai Tsuehua left with her cart, critically reviewing why she couldn't sell any chili strips. The main reason was pride. Others didn't know what she was selling or if it was nice, so naturally she couldn't sell anything. No, she needed to find a solution. Enai Tsuehua thought about this as she cycled. The next day, Enai Tsuehua went to the school gate as usual. Unlike yesterday, she brought along a cushion fan today. When the students got out of school, she began to fan the air and announce, "Chili strips, 2 yuan each." The delightful aroma was successfully wafted out, and after shouting a few times, Enai Tsuehua found that it wasn't as embarrassing. Thus, she continued to call out a second time, a third time. However, since chili strips was a novel term, these children hadn't heard of it before and naturally wouldn't approach to inquire. Finally, a primary school student was drawn by the tantalizing smell and asked, "Auntie, what do you call this? It smells so good." With a little customer approaching, Enai Tsuehua was naturally joyous. "These are chili strips, fragrant and spicy, very delicious." "Is it exceptionally spicy?" Although the aroma was enticing, the child had never tasted it before and was a little hesitant. Enai Tsuehua picked up a small piece with a toothpick and passed it to the child. "Kid, why don't you try it?" "Thank you, Auntie." The little customer reached out to receive it. There wasn't a child capable of resisting chili strips. The spicy and numbing sensation was simply too good. Furthermore, Enai Tsuehua was generous with the seasonings, even adding her own special blend of spices, making the taste even more satisfying. People would hate to waste any bit, almost regretting not sucking their fingers clean. The little customer finished the bite-sized sample and was left wanting more. Immediately she asked, "Auntie, is it 2 yuan per chili strip?" "Yes." Enai Tsuehua nodded smilingly. "I'll take 3. The little customer immediately took out 6 yuan to give to Enai Tsuehua. Enai Tsuehua promptly wrapped the chili strips and handed them to her. Thanks to the first little customer's word of mouth, the second and third customers quickly joined in. In a short time, all the chili strips in the large iron pot were sold out. Enai Tsuehua felt it was as incredible as a dream. When she returned home, Enai Tsuehua counted the money she had earned from selling chili strips that day. Adding up all the small change, it turned out to be 6 yuan in total. 6 yuan a day meant 180 yuan a month. This was much better than an average salary worker. Moreover, she only had to sell for a short while at 4 p.m. each day. This wouldn't disrupt her household chores either. For several consecutive days, Enai Tsuehua went out to sell chili strips to supplement the family income. The term chili strip gradually circulated among a group of primary school students. The other vendors nearby saw how good Enai Tsuehua's business was and followed suit, causing envy. Today was Mo Baichuan's birthday. Mo Baichuan didn't want to be extravagant, but his good brother Li Tingji and several other friends insisted on holding a birthday party for him. Mo Baichuan couldn't refuse, so he had to agree. Because of the previous incident, Mo Baichuan always felt guilty towards Li Xianxian, so he went to invite her personally. Thinking of Enai Yan, he intentionally let the news slip to Enai Yan, and also invited Mo Qishan to join. As he knew, Enai Yang would certainly come on the pretext of joining Mo Baichuan. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel, We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.